Hello and good morning, everyone. Welcome to this week's Breakfast with Boom. I'm your host, MrBooMStickXL, and I wanted to personally thank everyone so much for being here today, especially if you're on the East Coast, because it is going to be over 100 degrees, which is ridiculous. This is going to be a topic-packed show, so grab your iced coffee, because it's hot, and your freshly baked croissant. Sit back and get ready for an amazing 2 hours of the best gaming breakfast talk on YouTube. But in order to pull this off, I needed to find an Avengers-like team of awesome community members and content creators. And I did just that. So let's get into the introductions. First up, we have a returning member to Breakfast with Boom. He's a Black Desert veteran who's looking forward to saving Pioneer 2 from the clutches of the Dark Faults in Phantasy Star Online 2 next year. Die-hard gamer who knows a thing or two about racking up the kills in Apex Legends, proud husband and a father of 3, cosplayers in training, and the newest member of the Primetime Gaming Podcast launching this fall. Please welcome Tempest Sun.
What's up, Boom? Man, you just keep getting better and better at those, man. I tell you what.
I have to outdo Cognito of the Iron Lords podcast each and every time.
I was just going to say, man, you should have a title match, you know? Just have a panel and introduce everybody. But no, everything you said is absolutely true. Everything's going good. I'm excited to be a member on Primetime Gaming. I'm looking forward to it. And let's get into these topics. There's some good ones.
Yeah, well, thanks for being here once again. Next up, we have a true American hero, a gamer that is so deadly, he once took out an entire Ghost Recon team with a toothbrush, a smile, an MP5 with only half a clip of ammo, and his pure talent for becoming invisible. He's a huge Xbox fan, die-hard gamer through and through, old school cat with an appreciation for the classics, and full-time member of the next podcast. Please welcome Predator H2O.
That story just gets better and better every time I come on your show. Now
yeah,
it's a toothbrush and half a clip of ammo.
Yeah, you like that, right?
Glad to be here, man. I know we've been trying to get together for a while, and it's like my Fridays are kind of crazy and unpredictable. So hit you up, and I told you I was going to be available, and so here I am.
Well, listen, I definitely appreciate that, and you are welcome on this show anytime you have a free Friday. You have the golden ticket. Like most people that have the golden ticket, and you're definitely one of them. Thanks so much for being here. Next up, we have another returning Breakfast with Boom guest whose strong opinion on the saltiest gaming podcast is indeed welcomed. He's a YouTuber content creator with skills for days, a diehard Xbox gamer, a huge Forza Motorsport veteran where he will drive circles around you on the track, racing enthusiast, esport competitor who can't wait to get into Gears 5 multiplayer and chainsaw people in half. Please welcome Hyena Den.
Hey, what's up, guys? I love that introduction. You're really giving Cognito a run for his money there. Oh, man. You know, I always love trying to make it to Breakfast with Boom. There's a lot of great people on the panel, a lot of great guests, and a lot of great topics. And I'm really excited to get to some of these. Well, it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, well, it's always great to have you, dude. I really appreciate it, especially because, like I said, you're on the West Coast and you are up super early. So thank you so much for being here. And last, and in no way least, making his Breakfast with Boom debut, he's a content creator that tells it like it is. His outstanding YouTube channel is built on being a passionate gamer who appreciates the art in gaming. He is the showrunner of the incredible Vitamin G podcast on Monday evenings, diehard gamer who's a friend to all, regardless of what gaming company flag you fly, and someone that cannot wait to get into Gears 5. Please welcome FC Violent.
What's going on? Boom in the chat. Man, I gotta bring my levels up just because of that introduction, man. No one has done it yet, and I'm gonna talk to Cognito because you're gonna take his tag from him, man. I appreciate you for inviting me, and I can't wait to get started, man.
Well, listen, it's great to have you on the show. I'm glad that we were able to finally get together. I do appreciate the work that you do. I really enjoy your commentary on your shows, as well as how active you are on social media. So it is great to finally get a chance to work with you. So thank you so much for that. You know, I had something pop up at the last minute this morning. So we're going to open the show with some Marvel Avengers footage from San Diego Comic-Con that is currently happening. The footage was taken by YouTuber PS5 Intel, and I wanted to credit to him with the amazing 7 minutes of gameplay that that everyone on the panel got a chance to see. I also need to shout out community member Shan786 for hitting me up in the DM and bringing this leaked footage to my attention. And listen, you know, I think it's safe to understand that Marvel's Avengers did not have a good showing at E3 2019, and it had many gamers scratching their heads on what the actual gameplay was going to be. And apparently both Square Enix and Crystal Dynamics heard the cries of comic fans across the world and brought new actual gameplay footage to the biggest comic show in the world, of course, San Diego Comic-Con. Now, based on what I saw, not only am I even more hyped for May 2020 when it releases worldwide, but the game looks so effing good, my mouth was watering. And being a huge MCU fan, I honestly was blown away by the size of the character models, and I really cannot believe how detailed they are. So I'm going to go right to the panel. And because FC, this is your first show, I want to tip my hat and go to you first. What did you think of the leaked footage from Marvel's Avengers?
First, like you, man, when I saw it on E3, I was not, I wasn't that impressed. And I was thinking, man, I don't know, Square Enix, I don't know what you guys doing over there. But after seeing that footage, I got to be honest with you. I'm not even the biggest Marvel guy, but it looks good. Like, it shows, I don't know if I go into details, but it shows the different characters that you're playing. Like, you're actually playing Thor and things of that nature. And Thor looks good. Like, I was like, okay. That felt like God of War, like the way he was swinging his, the Mjolnir there.
Yes.
I can't wait for it. My only question about it, though, is like, what other type of modes it is? Because it feels kind of restricted. Maybe it's just showing that one map. But I'm curious to see how they're going to implement the world and their powers, because, these are superheroes. So it's going to be interesting to see what type of, how they're going to implement it in the game. But it looks good, though. So that right there, and I'm wondering if they're going to release that to everyone else to see, like, hey, even though you might not have been happy with the E3 showing, but this is what the game's going to look like, and get ready to get hyped again.
Yeah, I'm going to say this. The way that I think they're approaching this, and you mentioned God of War, which is would be a great way for the game to open up. You see, God of War was an open world, but it was open enough to give you, the player, the ability to kind of look around the world and do other things.
Exactly.
And what they showed in this demo seemed to be at the beginning of the game, when where it starts from the actual trailer that they showed at E3. And I got to be honest with you, it did seem a little closed off. Right. But it is supposed to be just snippets of the game footage. And to be honest with you, I'm gonna go to Predator next on this, because we were talking, and Predator, you made mention of it, kind of gave you a feel of the Anthem / Destiny. What were your takeaways from the trailer?
I thought it looked good. I'm not a huge video game buff either. I'm sorry, like a comic book buff either. So,
right.
So I was like, wow, this looks really good for what I'm seeing right now. And I'm pretty sure it wasn't recorded in 4K or anything like that. But what I saw looked great. I did get the God of War vibe from the hammer throw and stuff like that. And from Destiny, I kind of saw when you pop your super and you start hitting people with your super, I kind of saw that feel in it. The flying reminded me of Anthem, but it was just like a short segment, So I am kind of concerned about, is it going to be closed off? Is it going to be full reign where you can just go wherever you want to go and do stuff? But we don't know that part of it yet. Hopefully in Gamescom they'll show some more about the game, if they're even going to be there or not. But more details will come out later. It's just I like that it's a you get all the different characters and stuff like that. You can play with some of the characters anyway. And it makes you wonder if they're going to do the characters that aren't there, they're going to add DLC to it later, and have some other characters there. Are they following the story of the movies or the comic books to a T? Is it going to give Spider-Man a run for his money for one of the best comic book video games of all time? So like we'll see. I mean, I think it looks great, and I know that there's another question, Boom, that you wanted to ask too. I don't know if you're going to get to that part about how we were talking about the Microsoft thing, so I'll let you introduce that later.
Yeah, well, yes, actually, thank you. Actually, thank you for reminding me, because when you're trying to run these shows, you do forget everything that's supposed to be put in front of you. So, you know what? Yeah, I'll get to that in a second, and that's a question I'm going to follow up this particular topic. But I want to go to Tempest Sun, dude. You got a chance to take a look at the footage. You obviously are a big Marvel fan, and so is your family, for that matter. But this looked unlike anything I could have actually expected, because the perspective is that behind it. Listen, you can love or hate Sony all you want. I happen to really enjoy that third person behind the shoulder perspective that was made a thing in Resident Evil 4 way back in the days, and they've mastered it. And it seems as if Square Enix, and of course Crystal Dynamics, who's the developer of the title, did follow that kind of look and feel to it, giving the character feels like a toy you can just grab in the screen. That's how big they are. What were your takeaways from what you saw?
I know they want to make stuff exclusive for Comic-Con. I understand that, but they need to release this right away, because
I agree.
There was so much hype behind this game for so long, and then they don't have the greatest showing. I mean, stuff happens. I mean, I don't know why they didn't have the best showing, but if they just would have showed this, I think people would have been on board. You immediately thought of God of War when you saw Thor. Understandably so. You got a throwable hammer, throwable axe. Not too far different, but the Iron Man stuff looked really good. It just seems like it's like wish fulfillment. You love these characters, and it looks like they really changed the gameplay up. Like Thor was swinging around his hammer, punching dudes in the face, banging them around a little bit. And then Iron Man was just pure flying around, hovering like he does in the movies, So it's just a different type of gameplay. But the coolest one was the Hulk.
Yes.
Dude, I mean, did
you get an Ultimate Destruction feel?
Yeah, a little bit. I just like how, I mean, it's going to be rated T for teens. I guess they do what they want, but it's brutal. Like, if they were to actually
the bad guys were flying, dude. They were not living after those.
I mean, these are just guys, and he's sitting there bashing them in the ground. I'm like, if this was realistic, it'd be like Mortal Kombat times 10, man. There'd be body parts everywhere. I mean, it'd be crazy. No, it looked brutal. It looked real cool. So, as far as the structure of the game, I mean, I said on the pre-show, it literally looks like, to me, it looks like you play one character, but it's pretty much what we're getting today in Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3. It's just going to be a level. You run through the level, and you fight a boss at the end, more than likely, I'm guessing, which is fine with me, because it's a completely different perspective, and the perspective alone is enough to completely change how the game feels. So I know that the Marvelverse, Ultimate Alliance is really simplistic with the combos and stuff like that. They can really dig in deep and put more mechanics in this behind the shoulder thing. So I'm excited for it. I don't know. There's so many rumors about what it might be, when it really just looks like it's a kind of a more simple corridor shooter without the shooter part. That's kind of what it looks like to me. I don't know how they plan on making this a game as a service. I guess just add levels or more story beats.
Well, everything is going to be free. All of the DLC, all of the additional characters, all of that's going to be free. There are going to be microtransactions, but you have to understand the way that they're going to do this is very similar, where it's not going to be gross. If you want, let's say, Symbionite Spider-Man, when he gets into the game, and you have to pay, hopefully these skins aren't $20 like Fortnite level, because if that's the case, you can count me out. I mean, I love Marvel, but I'm not spending $20 on Symbionite Spider-Man.
You've also played a Symbiote Spider-Man in about 50 other games. Too.
Exactly. I mean, it'd be nice to have like a Red Hulk. It'd be nice to have a Better Ray Bill instead of Thor, which I think would be kind of dope as a overlay. He's one of my favorite characters. So I could, you can actually see, for Cap, you can add U.S. Agent skin, what I'm saying? So there's a lot of things that they could do, as long as they don't, as long as it's not gross.
Right.
And obviously it's Square Enix. It's not Activision. It's not EA. So it is possible that they may approach this from a more reasonable, maybe they're $6, maybe they're $5.99. I mean, I'm not marketing, so I don't know, but I would definitely consider being a huge comic fan as much as I am. I would wouldn't mind supporting the game post-launch with like outfits I found interesting.
Well, I think Square Enix has a good track record for supporting their games pretty fairly. I mean, there might be some outliers that weren't like maybe bad. I can't think of anything at the moment, but like, you know, you played through Tomb Raider. There was months of content for Tomb Raider, you know, just in the optional tunes and stuff like that. Final Fantasy 15 had a lot of additional like story chapters, if you will. They kept adding to that. It was almost silly how much they added to that game in the end. So I mean, they have a good track record for this, so I kind of trust them. So
yeah, no, I absolutely agree. I absolutely agree. I do have faith that they're not going to, because obviously I think that the industry as a whole has seen the ramifications of what happened in Star Wars Battlefront 2, right? I think everyone understands that the fan base will turn on you, and you know what? Like I said, I agree with you. I have not heard any grossness, if you will, when it comes to Square Enix. Other than their choices of what to put Final Fantasy 7 on, but that's another whole story for another topic. But Hyena Den, I want to go to you on this, dude. I'm not sure if you got a chance, of course, to take a look at the footage, because, of course, you know, where you are is super early. And once again, I thank you for taking the time to get up at 6 something to be here on Breakfast with Boom. But if you did watch it, what were your takeaways from the video?
So I actually think that I know that there's a lot of controversy and stuff revolving around how the game looks and how certain character looks and stuff like that. You know, looking at this footage, even though it's not direct feed or direct capture, I think the game looks good.
Yeah, me too.
You know, when I think of developers, sometimes some of the most talented developers out there, Crystal Dynamics out there in Redwood, are a very talented group of people. Obviously love their work with the Tomb Raider series. It kind of looks like par for the course with this game. And I know I'm I always have to explain to people that I'm not that well versed in superheroes or comic books or anything like that, but you can kind of see where they're going and where they've somewhat have taken inspiration from other games out there. Many people on this panel have mentioned God of War. I've definitely have sensed God of War 2018 with the hammer throw and stuff like that. I get a little bit of Tomb Raider vibes from it too. I also get Batman vibes as well. The game overall just looks good. No, I don't know if it would be something I would play unless, you know, somebody like my best friend says, hey, I got this game and it's crossplay and, you know, and so on and so forth. You know, at that point, then I'm going to have to get the game. But you know, overall, it just looks good.
Yeah, I'm very excited. I think what they were, again, thanks to, of course, the YouTuber that put it out, which was, of course, PS5 Intel. He seems to be a very small YouTuber. I say get over there, hit that guy up with a sub, because this is the only footage I was able to find. And of course, thanks to Shan786 for dropping this into my DM. Get out there, watch it now, because I think that sooner or later someone's gonna find out that this is out there and they're gonna shut it down. I'm glad everyone on the panel got a chance to talk about it. And now I'm gonna move on to the next question regarding Marvel. Look. I'm not a frustrated gamer, because I gladly and proudly support all 3 consoles. But I think that when you talk about Xbox, there's a lot of negative things that come their way. Marketing, we're not even going to get into it, because I've already said how I feel about how they market. And they are making changes, big changes. If you keep your ear to the floor, a lot of big shakeup over there. And I'm going to get into that into a video that I'm going to try and put together next week. But you know, if you look at what Marvel and the other companies have done, it's pretty apparent that the Marvel brand is important. Obviously, Marvel's Ultimate Alliance 3 comes out, I believe it was midnight last night for the Switch. I cannot wait to get it. Unfortunately, I got to wait till I get paid at the end of the month. So I'm definitely picking that up. That's going to be a big game. I know a lot of people on the panel are excited for that. And then you look at Sony. And of course, the masters of marketing have done something. Obviously, they teamed up with Insomniac Games, and they said, "Go crazy, make the Spider-Man game you want to make." And they made it, and it's amazing. No pun intended. I love it. The care and effort that went into that game is not to be believed, especially if you like all the different suits you can acquire. Perfect example. They just added the Far From Home Steve Ditko from back in the early days of Spider-Man, which is the red and black one. They added it for free. I mean, that's pretty, that's fan service with a smile. And then, of course, Iron Man VR, which, regardless of whether you like VR or not, I happen to really enjoy it. I cannot wait for that game. So then we talk about Microsoft. Now, when you talk about Microsoft, you got to sometimes scratch your head. And I'm not jumping ship here, folks. I'm talking as a fan of Microsoft, which is my favorite console to play. It really bothers me that they have not reached out to Marvel to get an exclusive character deal. I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's if it's an Iron Man game. I don't care if it's a Punisher game. I don't care what it is. They need to dip their toe into the water here and get on board with lining up an exclusive for their players. And FC Violent, I want to go to you. Do you agree with what I'm talking about?
100%.
Thank you. Okay, great.
Like they need something. I don't know why they didn't jump on the hype train that is the Marvel universe, because the biggest selling movie, or second biggest now. Why wouldn't you have your own game? Look at Spider-Man. It is the number one comic book game, or and whatever in history now, and that's associated with Sony. So now if you think of Spider-Man, you think, oh, well, PlayStation. Yep. Xbox doesn't have any of that. Like, and honestly, I don't foresee that really ever happening, because when's the last time Xbox actually had an exclusive like IP like that that's licensed? I can't even remember any. And if you were to think of Xbox in any type of comic book sense, what would you associate it with? Nothing. I don't know, man. Like, I could go on a rant all day about this marketing. I wasn't there last night on Salty Show because I had to go, but they were talking about marketing. I'm like, oh, I wish I was there. But they need something, man. They need something to not only to get into the comic book realm when it comes to, because there's so many fans. I mean, Spider-Man outdid God of War. I mean, that's how big that realm is. Why not get a character? And I'm thinking, what type of character that they could use, like that would associate with the Xbox brand? I don't know, maybe Captain America. I don't know. They needed a game. They need something.
Well, someone. I think it was Brian Wright in the chat wrote Hulk. Now I tell you right now, if they turn around and they remade Hulk Ultimate Destruction, I'm not sure if anyone remembers that on the OG Xbox, and I think it was the PS2. That game was like a GTA style game with the Hulk, and it was amazing. Mm-hmm. I can only imagine what that game would look like in 4K 60. Nowadays, it would be absolutely incredible. But I agree with you. I think that's a great point. When you say PS4, you think Spider-Man. Now when you say Switch, you're gonna think Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, which no one saw coming, right? And now, of course, you talk about Xbox, and you get a question mark like your Solid Snake. You get the exclamation point over there because you can't think about anything. So Predator, I want to go to you on this because you brought awesome of you to remind me of this because I would have forgotten. What are your takes on this? Do you think that they need to lock down a Marvel deal, not only for the brand, but for the fan base that has been supporting them since 2013?
They need something, like, even if it's not Marvel, what's the other major?
DC would be
like something like that. And I don't think they're going to get either one of them because they haven't really been doing that this generation. They haven't really locked down those type of deals. Like even like with this game, I'm not even sure who has marketing rights for the Avengers game.
It would be Sony. Sony does, yeah.
Sony does. So like that's another fail on their part. Like that's something they should have worked on. And they have a really good relationship with Crystal Dynamics too, with Tomb Raider and stuff like that. So like you would have think. Hell, matter of fact, one of the guys from Crystal Dynamics came over to work for Microsoft at one point, didn't he?
Yeah, he was actually the head of the head guy.
Yeah. So like you would have thought that you should have been in that person's ear, like, yo, man, let's try and talk to your friends over there and see if they can hook us up with this, but like those sort of things don't happen on Microsoft's side. It never does, like we don't get that here. And so like I think we need it. I think Microsoft needs it, not we, but Microsoft needs to start doing that kind of shit. And I don't know if it's a budget thing, if it's like maybe they're forecasting out into the future, like, just getting out of the fucking console space completely and just saying, hey, we're not spending that kind of money on stuff like that. But like, you're not going to sell consoles. You're not going to get your market share back by not doing things like locking down, Marvel deals or DC deals or something like that. So like, it just baffles me that they just kind of strayed away from doing that in the last 5 years. Like, what happened? Like, why are they not making these deals anymore?
Well, I tell you one thing, it can't be a money deal because right now with Xbox Game Pass and all the other services that they bought behind the scenes that are powering consoles and games, they're making money hand over fist. Now, yeah, true, the Xbox lost Xbox One sales and dropped in a shit ton. But again, that's not what we're here talking about. We're here talking about why Marvel and Microsoft have not teamed up as of yet. I mean, listen, you can make anything. You want to be ahead of the curve. Well, the Fantastic Four are rumored to be announced at Hall H today. Why not get on board with someone to do a Fantastic Four game that's exclusive to your brand? I don't know. I mean, listen, I say this all the time. I will make Microsoft great again if marketing hires me and fires everyone else and lets me.
I mean, Nintendo just did it.
Yeah. Yes. And look, and look. That's a great point, Brad. When you talk about Nintendo, closed walled garden, right? Nintendo is Nintendo, right? They have been opening the door just to peek, but to think that Marvel Ultimate Alliance, which looks bananas good, and I cannot wait to pick up at the end of the month, is an exclusive for the Switch. Like, holy shit, who saw that coming, right? So, of course, now I want to go to Tempest Sun on this. You're excited because obviously your amazing family is probably all going to play together because they're all Marvel fans. You put some pictures out which were awesome of them cosplaying in training, which looked amazing. In your opinion, and you're an Xbox dude, how important do you think it is for Microsoft to get off the pot or shit, or pardon my French, and make a deal with Marvel and get an exclusive like Sony has done?
How important? In the grand scheme of things, I don't know. I think it would be important. Obviously, as a fan, I really, really want it to happen, like really bad. As far as which character goes, I'd actually go a little bit darker. I mean, they have Gears of War franchise. They ain't worried about violence and gore and stuff. I'd go Punisher all the way, man.
Yeah, it's a great one.
That's a good one.
Like a real gritty, slow, methodical Punisher game that makes you cringe a few times. Like, I'd be all for that. But I don't know. I do think it's important. The kind of sad thing is one thing Phil does, which I don't quite agree about this. I mean, if you think about it from his perspective, they don't renounce anything unless it's at least 18 months out. Right. So they could have something cooking. We just wouldn't know. And especially if it is cooking, they're making it and it's geared for the Project Scarlet. They very well could have something. And I hate saying this, you just have to wait till E3 to find out.
Yeah, I know.
Of course, if we do wait to E3 and they still don't have anything exclusive from Marvel, then we'll really be like, well, what the heck?
Yeah.
I don't know. I do think it's important. I enjoy Marvel. I like DC as well, but I enjoy Marvel.
I'm a DC guy.
You're a DC guy. And that's the other route they could take. I mean, they might be looking at this and who knows what they'll do. I mean, that's like I said, that's the problem. You don't know about anything until it's at least 18 months out. I mean, that's, Spider-Man was announced and it took 2 years for it to come out. So 2 years.
Maybe longer, dude. Maybe
longer. So, I mean, although I disagree with what Sony does and showing us a trailer and 5 years later the game comes out, I disagree with that. But at least 2 years, maybe 2.5, I'd be willing to wait just and get me excited if I knew something was coming. So I don't know. I think it's really important. And my character's Punisher. That's what I want.
Well, I tell you, here's a Hyena. Before I get your opinion on this, dude, here's something that just popped in my head. Again, this is what happens when these topics. Usually, I write them a week in advance. I usually start working on the next show as soon as this show is done. I start finding the guests. I start lining up the topics, and I start writing over the weekend. I take this like really super serious. How about if they purchased, I don't know, IO Interactive, who made Hitman, and let them take a Punisher and go crazy with it? Because obviously Hitman is violent, right? It's gory at times. You poison people, you push people into piranha pools and all kinds of crap. So why couldn't you take a studio that knows how to make an over-the-shoulder third-person game and just say, here's Punisher license, go bananas, because we have Gears of War, and right now I just saw if worried about gore, I think that Dell had a shotgun shoved up his rear end and they blew him up. right on the screen. So I mean, listen, I mean, they're not worried about violence. So I don't know. I mean, it's frustrating as a fan of Xbox that everyone else is getting exclusives but them, especially when it comes to Marvel. And right now, Marvel is the hottest thing since sliced bread. Hyena Dan, let me ask your opinion on this. Do you think that this is something they need to do, or is something as fans like myself and many people in the chat on the panel want them to do?
Well, I guess it's kind of a two-part question to that, or a two-part answer rather. Like for myself, if I'm looking at it for me and me only, I'd say no, because obviously I have no ties to superheroes. But then you have to look at the other side of that coin, right? Where there are people that enjoy this stuff, and you can see that from the people that bought Spider-Man en masse, all the millions and millions of copies that sold. So clearly there is interest in these games for people, and the same can be said for the Batman series as well. For the life of me, I honestly couldn't pick out a character, an exclusive character for just Xbox. I know what Nintendo's doing with Marvel Ultimate Alliance. You see what Sony's doing with Spider-Man. I don't know what Xbox would get in all honesty. I have no idea. Would it help the brand? Absolutely. Like any sort of press or coverage in that sort of way with very high prestige entertainment will always help your product. I don't know if that's something they would actually go after though, because it doesn't seem like that's the sort of thing that they'd want to do. If they ended up doing something like that, I think I probably would want them to do it in-house with somebody like Ninja Theory, because I think they're the ones that would probably be the most versed in that sort of thing. But who knows, man? Good using entertainment that's that well known could only help your product. For me, it doesn't matter that. Sorry.
No. Go on. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I was just going to quickly say, for me, I can live or die without it. But, for other people, it seemed like it would be a nice thing to have.
Yeah, I have a question for the panel. Do you think, because Microsoft wants to do everything in-house for one reason, pretty much one reason only, they want Game Pass to be their business, end of story.
Yeah.
Do you think Disney Interactive, whoever it is that says, yeah, you can make a Marvel game for us, do you think they don't want one of their games going into Game Pass day and date and never seeing those sales that like Spider-Man just had?
That's a great question. It's funny because, it's first in order to put this basically pen to paper or pen to check, it would require a studio that was not owned by Microsoft, Sony, or Nintendo to do this, right? They could make an exclusive deal with Square Enix and have them do it. And I don't know how long it would be an exclusive, but it would be sad if they could not get someone outside of the 15 studios that they currently have to do it, where it could just sell as an Xbox exclusive, not necessarily meaning that it would get to Game Pass, because that's a great point, dude. That could be the holdup. Predator, you want to chime in on this?
I didn't want to cut anybody off a minute ago, but like the going back to what before you get to his question, like the obvious answer for Microsoft's exclusivity with video games would be X-Men. Right? If we can
that's a great one.
This kind of makes sense to me. But as far as Disney, I don't know, man. Like, I mean, go back to your question again? Ask that question again, so I'll make sure I get the right answer.
Pretty much, I'm just wondering, because you gotta understand where Microsoft's at now. They make what I think is one of the most groundbreaking announcements of all time in the video game industry. A $10 subscription will get you, like we're getting in September 6th, if it's Ultimate Edition, the freaking ultimate version of Gears of War 5. I mean, when they announced that, it blew my mind. So now Microsoft has this thing they have to keep up with. If it's their game, it's on Game Pass day and date. So but you got to know the money coming in for an exclusive Marvel game. The MCU is like the most lucrative, I think, franchise. I think it's more than Star Wars now. It's more than like pretty much anything I can think of. So it's incredibly lucrative. Do you think Disney doesn't want Microsoft to have an exclusive deal? Because Microsoft, I don't think they would allow a exclusive game on their end to not come into Game Pass day and date.
Well, that's something that can be negotiated, right? Like Titanfall did that, right? It didn't come in to what was it, crossplay or Game Pass, whatever the two, whichever one it was. I'm so confused with their shit now. But like they decided not to go that route. So that's something I think that could be negotiated. And if Microsoft really wanted that game on their platform, and Disney and them were talking, and that came on the table, and they decided not to get it on their platform because they were so hard on pushing Game Pass, that'd be their own fucking fault, right?
Yeah.
So like you, that's something like if Disney came in and said, look, we want to let you guys do this, however, it can't go to Game Pass. That should be an easy decision. Fine, we won't put it in Game Pass. Maybe we'll have exclusive content in Game Pass to Game Pass owners, but we don't have to actually put the game in Game Pass until maybe a year. Or 2 years down the road, or something like that. So that could be negotiated. I don't think that will be the holdup if they were sitting at the table with each other. I don't think that will be a holdup to stop.
That's true, but I could see it right now. Title screen on an IGN video. Microsoft backs out of making their exclusive game on Game Pass. Yada.
And that would just be another negative, another slap in the face, to the Xbox side if they just decided to not allow a game because they're forcing Game Pass on us.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
Slow-mo backslap in the chat says something very interesting. Outsource it to a second-party studio. Now, and when they do that, now it's not an Xbox Game Studio game, and I think that would actually make sense. Because obviously, if it's a second-party studio. Something like exactly what Sony did with Insomniac, right? Insomniac was basically approached by Sony. They said, "Listen, can you make a Spider-Man game for us? What are the ground rules? There are none. Make the game that you want." And look what they made. They made a masterpiece that outsold the God of War, which is and think about this for a second, folks. This is what frustrates me as an Xbox fan. And again, this is not dumping on Xbox, but we have to listen. This is the show, it's a talk show, so we have to talk about facts, and that's what I bring to the table. And again, if you're in the chat and you're somewhat upset about the fact that it's negative, well, listen, it's not all negative. There's a lot of stuff to be excited about, but we have to talk about something that they don't have, and that, of course, is a superhero game. And it would be. If you look at what Spider-Man has been able to do, that is locked to the Sony PlayStation 4 only, and look at the gangbuster numbers it has made. So if I don't have a business degree, folks. All right, I'm just a retired New York City police officer who was a blue collar guy his whole life, and now I'm talking video games. Right, big deal. What do I know? But I may not have a marketing degree per se, but I have common sense degree, and that's something that a lot of people lack these days. And if you think about the sales. Microsoft doesn't just put these games on the Xbox. They add that to PC. So just imagine the sales number of an exclusive, high-profile character, whether that be the Hulk, Punisher, go crazy, Moon Knight, make a Blade, do whatever you want, do a Dark Avengers, however you wanted to go crazy, and just. You want to make a Venom game? Make a Venom game. I don't know, but all I know is that whatever character that they would pick, it would be high profile and it would sell like gangbusters as an exclusive on both the PC and the Xbox console. And again, it frustrates me why we have to talk about this in if we were reading a what if issue from Marvel instead of it actually being a reality. But listen, does anybody else want to add anything before we close out this particular topic?
I was gonna say I would like to add something. Like,
sure,
it doesn't even have to be necessarily Marvel, because maybe like I think you guys were talking about how Game Pass might affect it, but maybe something that older Xbox guys might have an affinity with. Like I remember playing Soul Calibur, and then on the Xbox version of that game you had Spawn. Why not hit up a Spawn exclusive? Because Green Eyes,
Image Comics, why not?
And it kind of goes almost hand in hand with the Xbox, at least what it was back then. make a Spawn game. Like let Ninja Theory do it, or someone that I would give Ninja Theory the Spawn game and like, hey, maybe your second studio, whatever. Can you make a game out of this? Or hit up Insomniac because they're still second party or third party. So
that's a really great point, FC. I never even thought about why not hit up why not hit them up and say, listen, you don't want to make a Sunset Overdrive 2? Not a problem. Can you make a Marvel game for us? I'm sure they would do it for the right price.
Yeah, this is like reaching for the moon here on my part. But when Phil Spencer originally talked about getting Daryl Gallagher for the initiative, he said he approached him and said, he said something to the effect of like, this is the license we have, or this is what we have. So who knows? Maybe the initiative's making a Marvel game. I mean, we don't know. You know, they might have the creative license to make it, and they just have to craft it now. It doesn't. I mean, there's no saying it could take years to make it. I mean, I don't know if Disney says, hey, you can make this, pump it out in 2 years. You know, I don't know if they do that.
I wouldn't want that. I'd want them to take their time and craft a masterpiece. But, you know, here's something else that, again, this is a bit of a long topic, but it's Comic-Con week, and, I'm excited for it. I know a lot of people in the chat are as well. Here's something that just popped in my head. We have heard nothing from Rocksteady, right? Absolutely nothing in years.
Yeah.
Now, again, this is the shot in the dark here, folks. Could you imagine? Because it was rumored numerous times that their next Batman game or game they were working on were going to show up on the Microsoft stage. Would it be remotely possible? And your head would explode like in scanners if they announced at the Gamescom, XO18, 1920, E3 2020 that, hey, the next Rocksteady X game is exclusive to the Microsoft platform. Right. I mean, again, this is just food for thought, folks. It just, again, we could spend a whole hour talking about that, but I kind of want to move on to the next topic. And it is Microsoft. It's going to continue with Microsoft. Banjo Kazooie, for me personally, is an important pair of characters. I grew up on platformers. Banjo Kazooie is an iconic, rare character. Obviously, if you're a Nintendo Smash Brothers Ultimate fan, you were blown away by the arrival of these two characters in typical Nintendo fashion, right? They tricked everybody, right? And then they dropped the characters in there. And if you, again, I'm talking about this, I'm getting goosebumps because if you watched a lot of the reaction videos, which I enjoy, I enjoy watching the reaction videos. You know why? Because these are fans in their hearts that when they see something, they get so excited. Sometimes you've seen some big dudes crying over this stuff. And some people are like, yeah, that's not right. They shouldn't cry. And I say, you know what? You should cry, but you should try crying some more often, because if you're that passionate about stuff, it's okay to be emotional. I've seen some of these videos with Banjo Kazooie reveal where there was 40 people in the room, man. Like if they were watching the Super Bowl and they were jumping and cheering and hugging and high-fiving. And, I would love to be a part of something that's special. And, getting back to, of course, Banjo Kazooie, which this topic is about, the composer doesn't know if Microsoft is interested in a sequel. And considering that the Smash Brothers Ultimate announcement at Nintendo's E3 had gamers, again, dancing in the streets with excitement, I think Phil Spencer needs to revisit this ASAP. Now, I'm going to say this. This game, I pulled this topic or, story from Gaming Boat, one of my favorite places to go. And, Banjo Kazooie, in my opinion, I think a lot of people's opinion, to this day is considered one of the greatest 3D platformers of its time. There's just no doubt about it. And unfortunately, the series has been in a slumber since Nuts and Bolts on the Xbox 360. And, obviously, that sequel didn't do well. It sold over 4 million copies because it became one of their greatest hits. And I think you had to cross the 4 million mark in order to be titled that in the Xbox 360 era. And of course, we've seen recently some spiritual successors in the form of Yooka-Laylee that I actually really enjoyed. It was a gorgeous game. If you never played it, I highly recommend playing that game. Of course, if you are a fan of that kind of platformer. But Grant Kirkhope, He's the composer of the franchise and one of the people most commonly associated with the series. And if you didn't know, and this is what he had to say. He says, "My honest opinion is I don't know if there will ever be a new Banjo." And he said this while talking to VGC.com. It's easy to go look at these numbers, and it might be a drop in the ocean for the Xbox platform. And then he continues with, "Is there a market for it? Question mark. I don't know. I would think that Rare probably doesn't have the appetite for it. They're super busy with Sea of Thieves, and that's a gigantic game. It's going to take a whole studio to keep making content for that." He continues with, maybe the E3 reception at that was made during Nintendo showing could make an argument for Microsoft to consider bringing back Banjo Kazooie. But the trouble is, if I say anything more definitive than that, then the fans will think I'm in the know when really I'm just a composer. And he closes it out with, "I have no connection to the decisions whatsoever. Greg, I believe it's Males, and Tim Stamper are the real inventors of Banjo. It says, I'm just the most visible on social media regarding the IP." Now, I'm going to go right to the panel with this, and I'll go to FC. What are your opinions of course, of Banjo Kazooie, the character, and do you think that because Microsoft is pushing this thing where games for everyone, right? We have a diverse lineup in Game Pass, and this is diverse. Don't you think that the brand could use a fun, character-driven, child-friendly IP like Banjo Kazooie?
Yes. Well, first of all, when's the last time, if you think of the Xbox lineup, and I like to look at it in a totality, what are they missing, right? They're missing, Japanese games, but
Yes.
Another thing that they're missing is a actual AAA platformer. And I have been kind of pretty much begging Rare to make Banjo, but unfortunately, I don't think Rare has their hands tied with their own new IPs, and I think they're making new IPs going forward. But Banjo Kazooie is an iconic franchise. And the proof is in the pudding when you saw it firsthand. Oh, excuse me, let me turn that down. Firsthand when you saw it on the Nintendo stage and all the reaction videos. I actually watched them because I like watching passion. Like I'm a passionate guy.
Yeah,
so I get inspiration from watching other people get passionate. So I saw that. I'm like, look, this is proof that people want Banjo. They were screaming like, "Oh, it's Banjo!" That is dope. That goes to show you there is a fan base for it, even for nostalgic purposes. But some will say, "You know what, Banjo, we want something else." But having a diverse lineup means having multiple things in different genres. A platformer, including Psychonauts as well, because that was before Psychonauts was a thing. Makes up and fleshes out your actual first party lineup, and they should make it, man. Or I don't know who would make it, but having Banjo back would be great.
It's funny. They have good ties with the people that made Super Lucky's Tale. Now, listen, I know that game gets a lot of shit. I'm going to say this right now. I played that game to completion, almost unlocking every achievement, and I absolutely loved it. I know that they're currently working on a Super Lucky's Tale 2. I cannot wait. So, besides being a big old baby myself and enjoying that game, when my nephew Tyler would come over, we played the game. And he saw it, and because it was colorful and it was a fluffy character and it had a lot of coins on the screen, like something like Super Mario, it was interesting. And it's just one of those instances. It's like you have to look at your portfolio, and like FC said, it was a great point. What are you missing? And I'm not saying that Xbox should be like Nintendo or try to be like Sony. I'm saying that sometimes when you see success in other areas, you kind of got to copy what they're doing, but make your own spin on it because it's selling. It's proven selling, sellers, and it's making money. And it cannot always just be about, well, how many subs what we sold for Game Pass. It's got to be about your hardcore. Your hardcore would go out and buy a Banjo Kazooie, and that hardcore sells to your casual audience. I don't know. Maybe I'm talking rubbish here. Predator, I know that it may not be your cup of tea, but in your opinion, being an Xbox fan and someone that looks at these things from a logical point of view, do you think that they need to reevaluate what they saw from the excitement, like FC was talking about, from Banjo Kazooie going to Nintendo, by the way. And do you think they should come out with a new game?
You know, the longer you don't make a game, you know, like continue a franchise, the easier it is for people to forget it.
Yep.
Like this younger generation growing up may not know what the fuck Banjo Kazooie is. Like we do. We're older gamers. We remember the game, but like my kids have never played that before, you know, unless they played it on Rare Replay. And even then, it was kind of like, what is this? You know, they're not used to those type of games. So like the platformers it's not their style nowadays. Like they need that, you know, you can build and run and do Fortnite and get emotes and stuff like that type of shit. Like they need instant gratification in games, you know, like I unlock something, you know? So like, because it's been so long, you know, I don't know if introducing Banjo in the state that it was in before as a platformer would, you know, transition very well over into this generation, with the exception of the hardcore who remember the game. But yeah, like, you know, it's disappointing that, you know, people have asked for this game. Some of us hardcore have asked to see this game again and some other games as well. And they haven't delivered for the Xbox side, but they allow this character to go over to the Nintendo side for obvious reasons. I know there's a huge, you know, they wanted it there. Like, I mean, like for whatever reason, you know, Banjo, Rare, everything that happened with Nintendo back in the day, like, it fits perfectly for that game style, right? But I'm just, it's just frustrating that they don't listen to the fan base when it comes to certain things like this. Even if it was just like a revamped version of the game, you know, like just bring it up to 4K and just like
great point.
Like and put it in Game Pass or something like that. Do that for the fans. But we get games like Phantom Dust, you know, like you know, some of the stuff that no
original assets Phantom Dust.
What's that?
Original assets Phantom Dust too.
Yeah, that's right. Not even new assets. Yeah, it's
think about all the games we've asked for to come back. You know, like whether it's Conquer, you know,
Conquer another one. You can make it adult. I just,
you know, like it's exactly like we have
good IPs, man,
ourselves. And I know they hear this shit, but then they don't do anything about it. Like I said, they don't bring us the games we're asking for. They bring us stuff back like Phantom Dust. You know, and so like it's just like, you know, who are they listening to? Like what are they doing in their boardrooms when they're sitting here deciding what games to make? You know, are they even like listening to any of the stuff that the fans are asking for? Like, you know, and here's the other part of this, right? Banjo, yeah, it might do well. It might sell like shit. Who knows if they ever come out with it? But does Microsoft really need another kiddie cartoony game like that right now? To be honest with you, like, is that something?
You know, I see your point of view, and you're right. They have gotten it. You know, they got a lot of pushback from, and not necessarily Xbox fans, because most Xbox fans enjoyed Crackdown 3, which I absolutely think that if you have not played that game, don't listen to the knuckleheads on social media. Play that game. It is amazingly fun. Okay, maybe the destructibility isn't up to par, but we know why that happened. Maybe the multiplayer isn't for you, but you know what? The single player is amazing. And guess what? It does have co-op, so you can hang out with a buddy and enjoy yourself. I just think that I understand your point of view. Do they really need a cartoony game? Not so much cartoony, but if they could do a graphically revamp that I'm not saying, you know, do Gears of War graphics for Banjo Kazooie. What I'm saying is that they could do a game that made the character look like a real character. Like, you know, his hair could be real. Like, they could do like, you know, like how
don't Sonic him like they did in the movie.
Don't do that. But it's a character that deserves a revamp or a rebirth, if you will. And it's, you know, it's frustrating as a long time Xbox fan. Now, folks, listen, you got to understand, I've been with Xbox Live for 16 years. I've been paying for 16 years, no problem. I have a 260,000 plus gamer score, which means that I'm in it for real. Okay. Yeah. So I'm talking as a fan. I want more. And you know what? This is a character that I want to see brought back. And you know what? I understand Rare is currently working on a second project. I don't think it's going to be this. It's going to be a new IP. That's where they're going with, like FC was saying earlier. But you know, Tempest Son, you obviously have kids, and most people that have kids in this era of gaming enjoy gaming with their kids. This is family time that has never been seen before on the level that it's at. right? Yeah. Kids from the ages of 3, 4 years old are sitting with their mom and pop playing Fortnite, playing Super Lucky's Tale, playing Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 like you're going to do with your kids and your wife. And I think that this is an opportunity for Microsoft to gain an audience, a younger audience that they don't currently have. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, when people talk about, people with kids, I do have a 4-year-old and a son. He's about to be 7. I honestly, goodness, man, I think Xbox has the kid market not on lockdown, because that might always go to Nintendo, but it's pretty freaking good. The reason being is because on Game Pass, there's a section called Family Friendly. I have literally downloaded like 8 or 9 games from the family friendly section, and my kids play all of them. There is like an unlimited amount of content there for the kids. Minecraft is for everybody, but a lot of kids play it. That is still like the biggest game in the world.
Right.
So do they need more kid-friendly stuff? I don't really know if they do. And I think to play devil's advocate here for Microsoft, did Knack 2 sell well? Did Super Lucky's Tale sell well? I mean, Mario Odyssey sold well, but Nintendo could come out with a game called Poop Popsicle. It tastes like shit, and the game would sell like crazy. Let's be honest. I mean, they would sell in droves. So I'm not saying that Odyssey isn't a good game, but just forget about Nintendo. They're in their own little section. They're just their own thing. If you look at other platformers, Yooka-Laylee was good. I don't really know if it sold super well. I don't think so. And everybody was waiting for that because that was the creator, correct, of Banjo?
Yeah, most of the team were ex-Rare developers. Yes.
Okay. So there you go. I mean, that wasn't Banjo. It didn't have the character's name, but that was essentially a spiritual successor to Banjo. Didn't sell like crazy good. Microsoft.
Pinata?
Say what?
I'm thinking of the games you're listing. Viva Pinata.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I think that has that's like a cult classic at this point. But
That's a good game though.
Yeah, but even that one, I don't know if it sold super well. I mean, so you got to look at it from their point of view. I don't know if they. And the one thing everybody says, the number one thing is people want them to copy Sony. Let's be honest. And when they say that, people want them to make a story-driven, narrative, over-the-shoulder, third-person action-adventure game.
Ninja Theory is doing that right now, and so is the Initiative. Yeah, so we're going to get that.
So we're going to get that, but I'm just saying that's what people are asking them for. Now all of a sudden they allow their character to go to Smash. Now everybody's like, "Oh no, they want Banjo." At a certain point, I mean, they're getting pulled in 6 million different directions, So they have to do what's best for their brand. Is that making a Banjo game? Maybe. I don't know. I'm just looking at the other platformers that have came out before it. I don't know if they did super hot besides Nintendo, but like I said, Nintendo's Nintendo, man. So I don't really know if it would be the best thing for them. And to be honest with you, Super Lucky's Tale got a really bad rap because it came out near the same exact time that Mario Odyssey did. That game isn't phenomenal, but it's a decent little game.
It's fun, man. It's a lot of fun.
It's fun. And you know what? Everybody's like, why don't they let their games have sequels? Why not? Rah, rah, rah. If Super Lucky's Tale is coming out, maybe that's the game everybody's going to want. You don't know. They could learn from their mistakes and make a fantastic game.
We'll get a Super Lucky's Tale 2. Get a Banjo.
I don't want a Super Lucky's Tale 2. I want a Banjo.
Like
damn the kids. I want it for me.
Yeah, exactly. The old school cats. Yes.
Yeah, I get that. Honestly, forget I like Banjo. I played it, when I was a kid too. But I want Conquer. That's what I want.
Well, Conquer too. I don't mind if I interject real quick. I know Predator said it. I think you were alluding to as well. Like this is not going to be another kiddie game for Microsoft. The problem with the releases of the older games, like what you mentioned, it released by itself without a big game around it. Like if you release a big IP like Halo and then have Banjo or something come behind that to it would do much better than if you were just there was no big game and then Banjo comes out or Super Lucky Tales come out. And another thing too, like when you mentioned Sony games, I don't want to compare all the time, but they also released Ratchet and Clank. Look how good that game is. Why can't Banjo look like that?
Pixar level great.
Exactly. Banjo could look like that. You know what I mean? Because and in my opinion, Banjo's a bigger name than Ratchet and Clank. So Give me Banjo, make it AAA, make it look good, and then drop it around another big game. It'll do well.
Real quick, before I get to Hyena Den, I gotta first of all welcome Gotham Guy, who of course I'm always going to be in debt. If you don't know, this fine gentleman who I met and got a chance to hang out with at E3 offered me his +1, where I was able to actually get into FanFest, and he drops an outstanding $5 super chat. And he says, if Banjo Kazooie. He says, if Banjo Kazooie is a flagship platformer for the Xbox, I think it would be successful in conjunction with a new AAA first-party game announcements. Yes, that's a great point. Yep. Actually, that's what FC was just saying. You know, they could follow the success tale of said game, drop it behind it, and like in NASCAR, follow that draft all the way to the finish line. And I think they would do well. That's a great point from both FC and Gotham Guy. But Hyena Den, I want to go to you on this. You know, obviously there's a lot of passion in this topic. A lot of people, some people are in the chat are super stoked for the idea of a new Banjo Kazooie. In your opinion, do you think that the brand could use a fun, inviting family character like Banjo Kazooie, designed for 2019 or 2020?
You know what? Absolutely. There's two things that I've learned during E3. There's two things that I've severely underestimated during just in the gaming community as a whole that I learned during E3. One, that is, do not underestimate the Banjo fan base and how passionate they are. And two, do not underestimate the Microsoft Flight Simulator fan base and how passionate they are. Like that's during E3, seeing how excited and passionate and just people making live streams and videos screaming to the top of their lungs for these two games, like, absolutely blew my mind. I knew how revered Banjo was, but not to that extent. And Flight Simulator just came out of left field. Watching
and
this
it looks
stuff,
amazing, dude.
That is 100% gorgeous. I think, if not for myself, because I actually do like Banjo, then for the super dedicated fans, seeing them just so passionate for this franchise, it makes you happy. It is kind of a double-edged sword though, because like when I hear people talk about how they want to see this game make a return, as a reboot or whatever you can do with it to appease the fans, it's a double-edged sword in the sense that you have to be very careful with this franchise, how Banjo looks, how the game's going to play, because you already hear distaste with when they introduced Banjo in Smash Brothers. People were really excited with how that character specifically looks in that game, and there's a specific distaste for how it looks in Nuts and Bolts.
Yes, correct.
So,
great point.
You have to handle this franchise very, very carefully with the fans. If Microsoft ended up doing it and they did it the wrong way, there would be hell in the streets, and I don't think they'd recover for a while from that.
That's great. I love it.
Like, you have to be very, very careful with this franchise. If they do it well, then that's good for them. They'll strike gold again. But then you also have the other way that it's a double-edged sword is there's more than one type of platform that would want this game. Like, I don't see a future where Banjo would only be on Xbox. And I don't just mean PC as well. If they make a Banjo game, I 100% expect it to launch on Nintendo Switch or whatever device Nintendo comes out with at that time. And that in itself is a double-edged sword, because then you'd go back to the argument of, well, Microsoft is sharing their games with other platforms. So it's a really fickle situation that I don't think you're going to make everybody happy, but it is a game that I know that is sorely missed that would be nice to have again.
It's funny. There's obviously there's a lot of talk in the chat, which is really great. And some guy writes, hire Platonic to make Banjo 3. That's a great point, but I got one even better, guys. And before we move on to the next topic, which is a little bit more serious, because we're going to talk some Division stuff. How about this for food for thought? How about teaming up with Nintendo, letting one of their developers make the game, and it be a multi-plat on both Nintendo and Microsoft to go right into Xbox? You know, you let the team that did Mario Odyssey go crazy, and it would be an exclusive that would be strictly for the Nintendo Switch and the Xbox One. And I think that you kill two birds with one stone. You go in with Nintendo on this 50-50, and you let one of their teams do it. You let Nintendo publish it on their side. Microsoft publishes it on their side. They split the cost, and guess what? You have a moneymaker, because guess what? It's probably going to sell more. And this is pathetic to say, it's probably going to sell more on the Switch. So I'll go to FC on that. What do you think about that, dude?
That's actually a great idea, man.
Yeah, that's a good. That's a good idea. But I wanted the original question, or this whole thing came up because of the composer, right? The music composer.
The composer's name. Hold on a sec. I got to go back to that. Give me just 1 second to get back to the story. Okay.
Well, the reason I bring that up is because, no offense to the composer, music is outrageously important, but I think it's the very last thing that happens. If I'm not,
his name is Grant Kirkhope. He's been the composer of all of the Banjo Kazooie franchises.
Okay, so one of two things: if it is in development and we just don't know it, he might not know it either, even if they plan on using him. For whatever reason, some of these companies, they don't have any loyalty. They don't care. You know, they could not even use this guy. They could use somebody else. So just the fact that he doesn't know if it's being made or not, or he hasn't been contacted, doesn't mean it's not in the works. Like, I don't know if it is or not, but I wouldn't 100% count out that there isn't something going on. They have 15 studios, and I think we've only heard from
only a handful of them.
Well, I was gonna quickly say that at the end of my last point, that we not hearing that any news about it doesn't strictly mean that it's not in development, right? Like maybe we just don't know that it is being worked on, and they're just keeping it under wraps. Like, you look at, again, Microsoft Flight Simulator with Asobo. Mm-hmm. Who knew they were making that? Nobody did.
Nobody. Yeah.
Sorry. I just want real quick. I'm arguing with Victor Alstein in the chat, and he's talking about no, it's not going to do well. Banjo's not going to do well, and I'm trying to say, like, you're underestimating nostalgia. First of all, how did Spyro do when it came back?
Very well.
Did pretty well. Did pretty well, right? That's another platformer. How did Crash Bandicoot do?
Yeah, it's true.
Number one in the UK the entire year.
And you're trying to tell me that Banjo's not bigger than Spyro? It might not be bigger than Crash, but it's bigger than Spyro.
Yes.
So it will do well. Believe me, nostalgia is a drug, and a great idea with Boom talking about partnering with Nintendo would make it even. It would make it even do. It would be number one in MPD.
Yes, and that's the thing. Like I said, this is something I thought about when I was writing this. I said, could you just imagine? First of all, isn't it like blatantly obvious Nintendo wants to work with Microsoft? Don't you think that they were like giddy as kids to get them to agree to have Banjo in Smash? Do you know how big that is for the Nintendo brand to get a character that it was on the N64 Super back in the days back onto their new platform? And obviously, I'm not the only podcast talking about this. You know what? Maybe I am. I don't know. But that's why you tune into Double Barrel Gaming and Breakfast with Boom, because you're not going to get the same old regurgitated shit that you get on everyone else's show. You're going to get some thought-provoking topics that maybe they don't hit. I don't know. We have 125 people in the chat. If you enjoy it, thanks for being here and enjoy it. Give me a 1 in the chat if you're enjoying this. And if you don't, hit it up with a 2. It's fine. Everyone's entitled to their opinion. But with that said, the ramifications of a Nintendo, Xbox, or Microsoft team up to bring back two of the most iconic characters in gaming. Okay, when you say Banjo Kazooie, they stand shoulder to shoulder with Crash, with Mario. Take any of the platformers you want to put in there, and they stand shoulder to shoulder with them because they're that iconic. And I think that this would be a great venture to allow Nintendo to put it on their console. You get it on the Xbox. You split publishing rights. you split development costs, and guess what? You have a win across the board because the game is going to be on the most popular system currently, which is the Xbox Switch, which, by the way, won June MPDs again, and they're going to win it in July, and they're going to win it in August, and they're going to win it for the rest of the year. So if you were Microsoft in marketing, which I'm sorry to say, dismiss everyone there and hire me and a few other people, maybe like Mooch, because he has a big voice. We would make the Xbox marketing department great again and sell to the fan base, which is the hardcore. But you know what? Does anybody want to add anything before we move on to the next topic?
Let me give you a quick conspiracy theory real quick. All right. Before we move on. So if you remember a while back, I think Rare came out and said that, they weren't really interested in revisiting some of their old franchises. Right. So I was looking up some articles and stuff while we were going through this. And so I'm going to read this real quick. Let me get to the point. Rare Studio head Craig Duncan said that the developer is willing to hand off their IPs to the right team with the right creativity, noting their studio gets a lot of pitches to revive old IPs. So they know people want these games, right? He goes on to say that, like some of the games like Project Spark and stuff like that they're working on, didn't do very well, even though they do like Killer Instinct. But they're basically open to letting other studios do this. And Microsoft recently allowed something. What was it? Not Quantum Break. What was it from those guys? They gave back publishing rights.
Of Alan Wake.
To Alan Wake. So like they could easily get rid of publishing rights and stuff like this to Conquer or to Banjo or something like that back to Nintendo. I mean, it's a possibility. So Mark, I honestly see them just like not. If that doesn't seem like they're interested in making a game, they may just say, "Fuck it, let's let Nintendo do it for us."
How about this? How about they buy the studio that made Yooka-Laylee?
That's all ex-Rare employees. Almost 90% of that team worked at Rare. Decided to have the game crowdfunded, which, by the way, I was a backer since day one on that because obviously I'm a huge 3D platformer fan. Love Banjo Kazooie, and you know what? Yooka-Laylee was actually really awesome. Hard as balls, but really awesome to play. And that would actually be a fantastic idea. Buy that studio, say, okay, listen, ex-Rare people, Banjo Kazooie, go crazy, and you just leave them be, and you come back in 3 years. I don't know. I mean, listen, again, this is for me anyway. This has been a great topic. I hope everyone enjoyed it. But I want to move on to the next one, gentlemen, and it's the Division 2 director. Recently went to Twitter asking fans if they wanted a single-player, story-driven spin-off, and if they could write an engrossing story as they did for both AC Origins and Odyssey. I say sign me up right now. Now, obviously, the Division 2 released earlier this year for the Xbox One, PS4, and PC, and while it didn't make the biggest splash as its predecessor, it still boasts a large daily player base. That said, many have wondered if the series would ever evolve beyond a looter shooter. And, according to Ubisoft, they haven't said anything suggesting that this could happen. But interestingly enough, creative director of the series, Julian Garrity, may have proved the small glimpse of hope for fans of the single-player narrative-driven story that they could be going down this path. Now, recently, a fan of the series tweeted at Garrity suggesting that Ubisoft make a single-player narrative-driven spin-off that takes the Division formula and gameplay experience and blends it into a game very similar to The Last of Us, which had been lauded as one of the best all-time single-player story-driven experiences to date. Now, here are the tweets between Tim Spencer, who was actually the level director at TT Games. He says, "I love the idea of a single-player narrative-driven spin-off of the Division game, focusing on an agent trying to get home to their family after being sent to New York City during the SHD blackout from the fall of DC. It would be fantastic." And he continues with, "None of the stories have explored what a Division agent sacrifices and what they go through mentally. When you think about it, it's a pretty dark, epic thing. There's huge opportunity to tell something incredible here." And Julian Garrity, creative director at Ubisoft, responded with this, and it's short but sweet. apparently not something people are violently against. Okay, so now I want to talk about, to the panel. A single player story driven division game to me sounds absolutely incredible, considering how amazing of a turnaround they did with the AC Origins and AC Odyssey. I mean, they really took that series and they spun it on its heels, and they made two of the most epic Assassin's Creed games in the entire franchise. Now, the Division has a player base that enjoys the looter shooter aspect, but for me personally, because I'm an old school gamer, because I'm a selfish gamer who enjoys sitting in front of the TV and playing a story-driven, adult-themed, narrative-based title, just enjoying the story as if I would be reading a book or watching a movie, I would definitely go for this. My question to the panel is this something you can see happening, and would you be interested in it if they handled it something similar to the Splinter Cell games? And FC, I want to go to you first on this. What are your takes on this?
Oh man, you just said Splinter Cell. Like, if they make this game before Splinter Cell, it's gonna be riots in the streets of Ubisoft. I'm just gonna say that too. I'm just saying, like, I like the idea and all, but bring me Splinter Cell first. Like, come on, you can't make Splinter Cell doesn't sell because it's single player. Then you make a single player Division game. I'm like, bro, like, am I a prick? Like, come on. But just to go back to the topic though, the Division story is dope. Like, the Tom Clancy stories are always kind of cool, and have it be played out in a first or in a single player narrative focus with that backstory. I think it'll be cool, man. It'll be something interesting to see, and hopefully they do. But the likelihood of doing it, I'm not sure, man. I don't think Ubisoft goes with that model anymore. They do a lot of microtransactions. I guess they could try to copy the Odyssey formula, but then I don't want the map to be so freaking huge. So I don't know, man. But if they make Splinter Cell, then they can make this, and I'll be happy. But please make Splinter Cell, Ubisoft. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I've been barking at the moon for a Splinter Cell reboot or something. Yeah, I don't care if I got to wait for a new one for 5 years. Give me a reboot of the original one, and I'll just sit in my corner and be quiet. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I think it might be a kick to the ball, so to speak, to the fans if they got a new Division game before they got a Splinter Cell game. I agree with you. There would be riots in the street, but Predator, being our resident Ubisoft fanboy like myself, in your opinion, if Ubisoft turn around, and obviously, FC said something interesting. He doesn't want the map being too big, and I agree. I don't think it could be Assassin's Creed big, because that's ridiculous. I mean, it would be too much. But if they turn around and took the Last of Us, that kind of a feel where it was big just enough, but closed enough to tell that real special story that people could remember of a specific agent and his family, making it a personal game and a story about this agent and what he went through to get to where he needed to get his family. Do you think that would work?
I'm in the same boat as my man over here. He was just like, yo, just give me a Splinter Cell. Like, I mean,
yeah, why do that? Just give us Splinter Cell.
I mean, I just like it's like again with Microsoft, they don't listen. Like, we've been asked for Splinter Cell for how many fucking years now?
Yeah, I've been wrong for 4 years going, so I'm gonna continue being wrong.
Like,
yes.
They can't say shit to me until they give me a Splinter Cell. Then they can do whatever the fuck they want to do. But until they come out with a Splinter Cell, I mean, isn't there a Division movie coming out? Let that go,
actually there is. It's gonna be on Netflix, as a matter of fact. Yeah,
let that be our single story right there. We can just watch the movie and then like go from there. But like, oh man, I would like it, but I still want my Splinter Cell. And I'd be okay with that. And let's say Division 3 comes out. They want to put a story mode in that. Okay, whatever. But I kind of
make it like Destiny. You can tell your own story, but still have the multiplayer. That's actually a great point.
Yeah, just do it that way. Like, I mean, I already got Ghost Recon. I already got Division. I already got my shooters. I got my looter shooter from them. I got my stupid crazy shooter in Far Cry. I got my Assassin's Creed story.
Stuff if you go Rainbow Six.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, look at this. Okay, you guys remember the original Rainbow Six?
Yes.
The original, not the one.
Chavez is his name.
No. The original
PC?
Rainbow Six Patriots that they're gonna.
Oh
release.
yes,
Oh.
yeah, the one that they can,
the one they scrapped. Yeah, do that. Give me that, and then we can talk. And then but I don't want to see them just take a franchise and spin off a franchise, another. I like the Division for what it is. It's a looter shooter. It's fun. I get in there and get gear. If they're gonna go with the story mode, just make it. I would rather just make the Splinter Cell. Just do that instead.
I got news for you. I'm gonna throw this out there. I'm gonna rile up the people in the chat and on the panel. I would love to see Rainbow Six Vegas 3. Hello.
Yeah. Cool.
Because I really enjoyed those two games. But I want to go to my next guest, Jay. What do you think? What are your thoughts on this, dude? I mean, do you think that there's room as big as Ubisoft is? Hearing from the director of the game that people would not be too opposed to this. Would you personally, Tempest, like to see a story driven, or maybe even like an addition to a part 3 to the Division, where it was like like a Destiny type thing, where if you can go off and do your own thing, tells a really interesting personal story, but you can go multiplayer and go crazy.
Okay, at first I only had a few thoughts, and then as y'all were talking, I have lots of thoughts.
Okay, so go crazy. This is
wow. Okay, so first of all, I just want to say that
sorry about that. That's my Google.
Oh, no problem. The Division has phenomenal environmental storytelling. It has a good overarching story to the whole thing. What it does not have is a good storytelling mechanics, if you will, in like the traditional sense. And one reason why it drives me up the wall, your character is mute. That drives me crazy so bad. And when I got to thinking why it drives me crazy is one of my top 3 games of all time is Mass Effect. 2007, they used to have, silent protagonists as well. Well, Shepard, rather your Paragon or Renegade, had a personality. Shepard was Shepard. Shepard wasn't just this lifeless thing that you controlled. My favorite character in the Mass Effect franchise was Shepard. It was my Shepard. I love Shepard. And, so taking that approach, then it got me thinking what they could do. It's already an RPG. How about you give your character dialogue choices, your character's voice? You only need one male voice, one female voice. You could have backstabbing, conspiracy plots.
Nice.
There's already backstabbing in the first Division game, one of the 8 rogue agents.
Yes, great point.
Yeah, make it so it's just like a deep story driven. I mean, they could literally. I mean, there's already story beats in Assassin's Creed Odyssey. There's dialogue choices. They've already done it in their own games. So just take some notes from the Odyssey team and turn this into an RPG, man, in the veins of like Mass Effect. How cool would that be, going through a broken down New York City again? Take us back there and just do like a more rich RPG, but not just loot. You know what I'm saying? Oh man, that would be. Thinking about it, I really want that now. I want Splinter Cell too, but just thinking about that, I want that more.
Yeah, I mean, it would be interesting. I mean, I'm not going to go crazy here and say they could merge it to have Splinter Cell do his game, and then somehow you run across a Division agent opening up for a spin-off game. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there. I like books and I like Tom Clancy, and I think that would be pretty damn interesting.
Yeah.
So, I mean, well, listen, that's actually a really great point. You bring up some really, really interesting, thought-provoking points, and I'm glad that I have you on the panel today because of it. Hyena Den, I want to go to you next on this. Listen, I don't know what your love or hate is of the Division, but it is a franchise that's rich with backstory. That's the one thing that makes it a more interesting looter shooter than others. I mean, like I said, Destiny, it is what it is. Destiny 1, you had to literally leave the game to get the lore. They changed that a little bit in Destiny 2, but they've done that really well through the Division 1 and especially in 2. If you're interested in the lore, there is a ton of stuff to find out, especially if you find the tapes and you listen to them and you read a lot of the backstory. Do you think you'd like to play a more single-player, story-driven Division?
Yes, I think that sort of thing is something that speaks more to me personally. Like I don't hate the Division for what it is, but it's kind of almost like a perspective twist, right? You look at some game like I just like the idea of a more multiplayer focused game having a bigger single player bent to it. Like you look at what they did with Fallout. That was kind of the inverse of this situation with Fallout 76. They took a single player game and turned it into a multiplayer game, and that didn't do so hot. But I think I don't know. So there's something about turning a more multiplayer focused game into a single player game that kind of intrigues me. That I would definitely like to see more of. Um, I've watched a lot of videos on the Division, and there's a lot of different stories that they can tell in a more linear fashion that I think would speak volumes to people. And I know a lot of people on this podcast, on this panel, have already spoke about them doing Splinter Cell, which they really need to do.
Riots in the streets if they don't.
Yeah, like honestly, if I had to choose between the two, obviously I'd go with Splinter Cell 9 times out of 10. But if this is what they're going to end up doing, then at least make it a really good single player campaign that I can sink my teeth into. The idea of it is very fascinating to me, and we'll see what happens with it. Just don't turn your single player focused games into multiplayer ones, because those usually don't do very well.
No, I absolutely, I definitely agree with that. I mean, the only one they were able to get away with, if you think about it, was Rainbow Six.
Right.
They actually brought back Rainbow Six to what it originally was, and they really kind of just turned it on its head. Obviously we like I said earlier, I would love a Rainbow Six Vegas 3. Love those the first 2 games of the series. Patriots seemed like it was going in the same order. They can that. Like Predator said, that'd be great to bring back as well. But you know what? This has been a great topic. I just want to move on to the next one.
Oh man!
Oh no! What do you want? You want to add something?
I want to add something.
Yeah,
They already have kind of an example of more focusing more on single player in one game called Ghost Recon Breakpoint, right?
Yes, that's a great point, dude. Great point.
So imagine like the Division in that type of world, more gritty, more single player focused, more realistic. So and depending on how that game does or do, I think they'll probably have more games like that, and I'm for it. So
yeah, well, you know what? It gives you the best of both worlds, doesn't it?
Yeah.
FC. You have the single player. It's telling a real epic story. They motion captured the Punisher, for crying out loud, as the antagonist.
Yeah, exactly. It looks good.
So I mean, and then of course you want to play with your buddies. By all means, invite 3 other people, but you're still getting that story-driven narrative that I think we're all talking about that we like. That's actually that's a great point. Well, you know what? If no one else has anything else to add, I want to move on to the next topic. Now, this may not be the biggest topic of the show, but because I'm a fan of it and I do run the show, I wanted to talk about it. PlayStation VR patents show that the next headset could not only be wireless, but it's going to add new graphical rendering techniques. And it's only going to cost $250, according to the rumor that I pulled from Gaming Bolt once again. And being a huge fan of PlayStation VR, I'm very excited to hear this. If you don't know, I was a day one adopter. I bought every game that was available. I mean, every game that was available, I bought it. And then a year later, I sold it privately to get the new version that had HDR pass-through. And I've loved it ever since. Now, I don't play it every day. In fact, I haven't played it in quite a bit, and that's shame on me, but I do like VR. But when it comes down to discussions on the next generation hardware, it's always falling into the camp that the PlayStation 5 and the next Xbox, dubbed Project Scarlet, are going to be big things. But the one thing I have to say is that Sony has already started talking about next gen hardware outside of the PlayStation 5 in regards to the PlayStation VR dubbed 2.0. Now, we know that they've already talked about that you're going to be able to use your current PlayStation 4, your PlayStation VR on the PlayStation 5. So that's a big deal. Because if they were to cut out the the fan base, which, by the way, if you don't know, is they've sold 4.2 million units worldwide, and Sony's actually really happy with that. Now, I know that there's people in the camp say, well, wait a second, Boom, there are 100 million consoles out there. That's not even X percent. And I would agree with you, but VR is a niche market, and the 4.2 million units sold on the PlayStation 4 is actually the high end of VR when you talk about an even bigger market in the PC, when you talk about the Vive and all these other ones, and Oculus, which has a new one out, which is wireless and is a dope. I want to pick that up as well. But a slew of new patents materialized, and we see that Sony is potentially thinking about a wireless headset, and they've dubbed it the PlayStation VR 2.0. It's supposed to be made in a way where it's going to combat nauseousness and also be able to accelerate the graphics processor that a lot of people had an issue with in the original unit, which obviously. This is the rumor, folks. The PlayStation 4 Pro was brought out to handle the PlayStation VR. I mean, mine worked fine. I enjoyed it very much, especially when I played like Arkham, the Batman game on there. So many games that I played. Super Hot was magnificent. The one that actually came with the gun attachment was pretty good. But you know what? The patents also mention using new graphics rendering technology called I think it's called foveated rendering that will help cut down on the GPU loading times that only supply high quality graphics to its parts as part of the image as a gamer would see. So I'm interested to see what they're going to do with that. Sony has mentioned in the past that it's possible that the next VR headset will come in multiple models. And I'm hoping that's not, in fact, the case. Release one wireless model, call it a day. If you want to release bundles with games and controllers and things, that's fine. But I don't want one to be wired and one to be unwired. I think wireless, they have to do it, no problem. But here's my question to the panel. FC, I'm going to go to you first on this. I would expect that 2020, we're going to hear mostly about the PlayStation 5 and all the bells and whistles that are going to accompany the next piece of hardware. But because Sony knows how to market to their very loyal fan base, it's also safe to assume that they would not be hesitant or afraid to mention that PlayStation VR version 2.0 was under active development, hyping the new piece of hardware years before release. What are your hopes for the next PlayStation VR and are you excited as I am?
I actually did a video highlighting one of their studios that kind of focuses on.
Yes, I saw that on your channel. Yep.
Yeah. So my reservations with it is that it's not wireless, but this new one, if they are indeed making it wireless and making it more accessible to more people, then I'm all for it, because I'm a gamer and the passion I have for gaming is crazy. Now, if you take that to the next level of putting myself into a game, that is the dream of VR. That is the ultimate. That's the ultimate goal.
Yes.
And the closest to that, like I mentioned in my video, was Ready Player One, or like having something like that where it could get to that level. That's why I hope VR continues to keep growing. And with Sony and how their marketing machine it is, and that the games they're putting on it, they're kind of bridging the gap between making their heavily story-based narrative into their games now.
Yep.
Blood and Truth. I don't know if you played that yet, Boom.
No, I have not, dude.
I heard a lot of good reports
about it.
Yeah. So I would definitely recommend playing that if you have a PlayStation VR, and you'll get to see what it could be used for. So I'm hyped because I'm gonna get it. I've been a lot of my friends offline, off this YouTube and Twitter stuff. It's like, hey man, you need to get PlayStation, you need to get the VR, you got to get VR. And my always things like, I don't know whether I should get Oculus. I don't know whether I should get the PlayStation, like because there's so many different peripherals. But when it comes to the software base, man, PlayStation has it. So if they do it wireless and it's more powerful, I'm there day one, man. I'm with you, Boom.
Yeah, I'm excited. And Predator, before I get to you, Atrocity Nights with the outrageous and extremely generous $20 super chat. He says, great show as always, Boom. Has anyone in the panel tried or plan on getting Oculus Quest? My answer to you is yes. This holiday, my gift to myself is going to be the Oculus Quest. I cannot wait. And he says it's constantly selling out. And as an early adopter, I'm playing it more every day. No wires makes all of the difference. Can't recommend it enough. Well, first of all, thank you for the outstanding generosity. That is very, very nice of you. Thank you so much for supporting Double Barrel Gaming. And yes, I obviously I'll get to everyone's on and ask the question for you. FC, before I move on to Predator, would you consider getting the Oculus, the new Oculus device because it's wireless?
Because it's wireless. Yeah. Like I hear a lot of good things about that device, so I'm considering getting it because I do want to get into
it has
the
Star
VR
Wars,
space.
by the way.
Yeah, there's
it has
actually
Vader.
That'd be cool. I think there's this one game. I forgot what it is, but they're making it more, I guess, adventure oriented. Because my thing with VR, a lot of their games are like, okay, you're like your hand is like a mouse kind of thing, and I'm like, like on the keyboard, and I'm like, I don't really like that. I wanted to feel like I'm doing it, not me moving something that's doing what the action that I'm doing. It's like, what's the difference between that and having a controller? So with that and the games that they're coming out with Oculus and on PlayStation, man, yeah, I'm getting it. Yeah, I'm getting it, bro. I'm with you, bro.
Predator, I don't know what your interest level is in VR, but considering that Sony is notorious for abandoning devices that don't sell gangbusters, like they did with the Vita and they did with the other handheld, it's interesting and very refreshing, so to speak, to see them already in active development of the PlayStation VR Part 2, so to speak. Would you consider getting it if it was wireless on the PlayStation 5?
I will not lie to you. I've never been a fan of VR. Okay. Mainly because I've never even tried it. So like, it's just like I have a PC, I have a PlayStation, I have an Xbox, I have a Switch. If I buy VR, my wife would kill me. So, so we'll start with that. And so like, but even if I did get it, like some of the games I've seen, they just don't appeal to the type of gamer I am. So, and that's what really keeps me back from purchasing it. Now, if I could like go up to Best Buy and rent one for a week and play some games, it might change my mind. But like most of the stuff I've seen have just been, like they've been jump scares. They've been like add-ons to other games. I know they have some really good fun stuff out there, but I just couldn't see myself engaged in that. Especially, I got a backlog of games now I haven't finished, and now you want me to add another system, and add another group of games I got to play on that as well. Wireless or not, it's just never been something that I've been interested in doing. I'm a traditional gamer. I need a controller in my hands when I play games, and I think the experience would be fun. I'm not knocking the people who do it. I'm not saying I would hate it. I'm just saying I don't want to invest in it. There hasn't been a game that's shown me like you have to get VR for this game.
For this one game. Okay.
Yeah. And when I see that might change my mind. But right now, everything I've seen has never made me to say, like, I'll say like the Switch. When I saw Zelda, I was like, gotta get it. When you see like, when I saw God of War for my PlayStation, I was like, gotta get it. I gotta get my PlayStation now. I've been waiting on God of War to come out. And so like I got it. I went back and picked up some games I didn't get a chance to play. And VR may be the same thing. I'm waiting to see if that market expands into the games that I like, and then I'll jump in.
Maybe something, maybe if they made like a shooter game where it was more like realistic, and maybe that'd be up your alley.
They do.
Splinter Cell VR or some shit like that.
Oh, actually, it's funny you should say that. I hate to say this, folks. Yeah. Well, no, that's actually a good one, dude. But I don't have the article in front of me, and I have to bring it up. And maybe I'll bring it up in the next Breakfast with Boom or one of the other shows that I do. But I do believe I read that Splinter Cell VR could possibly make an appearance. So, and I'm almost positive I read that. I'm gonna go look for that article. I'm looking
at it right now.
Okay, there you go. There you go. Okay, so all right, so I'll come back to you, Predator. I want to go to Tempest Sun. First of all, Oculus Quest, being a third-party peripheral, in my opinion, would work magnificent on the Xbox Anaconda. And we know that Microsoft, they're a little gun-shy with peripherals after the Kinect 2.0 shenanigans, and I don't blame them, but I would love to hear an announcement at next E3 that this, because if you heard Phil Spencer, he says he's interested in VR once there are no wires attached. And he was very vocal about that. And Oculus, the Oculus Quest, man, it's selling out like gangbusters for a reason. And I can see them saying, okay, we're not making the hardware, but we'll make some software for it. Put the Halo experience in there. Put some Microsoft IP experiences in there, and that would be good. Would you be open to that?
I'd definitely be open to that. I'd be maybe more inclined because I've heard it's as far as like fidelity goes, it's the HTC one and then Oculus and then like PSVR. So getting at least like the middle ground there in the new system would be pretty sweet. For me though, I don't have too much of an interest in VR. I tried it once and it was cool, but it was just kind of like, that's cool. I don't know if the games are there. Personally, I should give them a try. I know that, but I haven't. For one, I have kids, so me putting this big bulky thing on my head, being closed off from my kids, I don't want to run over my children or anything like that. If I'm
of course not. Yeah.
So, that's part of it. But honestly, and this is me just being completely honest, I think there's only two things that could get me, maybe even right now with the current like just PSVR, that could get me in there. Is if the games are good, but if you could give me a Robotech and a Gundam game where I'm in the cockpit and
now you're talking,
and it was scaled right. And, if I'm in the Gundam, it feels like, I'm however big they are. I think they're like, like 10 stories or something like that tall. But if it was like that, I'd be in it. I gotta be honest. Cause there was a game on Dreamcast where it was a first person shooter. It was a Gundam game on Dreamcast. And it was a little difficult to control because it was a first person shooter on Dreamcast, but it was I was so blown away because I was so into the Gundam's franchise at that time, and just being able to do that with the the VR, that'd be awesome. So
that actually sounds good. Yeah, I mean, I know I'm going to take this a little further, but could you imagine playing VR in a Titanfall game?
Oh yeah,
God, I'm
like Mech Assault.
Yeah,
they ever bring that back?
Yes. Oh my God. Yeah. See, there you go. So now you brought up an old IP that I think deserves a return.
I'm missing nostalgia, I guess.
Yeah. Listen, nostalgia is a hell of a drug, and that quote comes directly from, of course, our good friend Mooch, who has the biggest voice in gaming. Hyena Den. Before I get to you, I just have to thank the Ruum, I think that's how you pronounce it, for the outstanding $5 super chat. Thank you for your generosity. He says the best thing about the Quest is that you can take it anywhere. Now it has Netflix and other apps. That's dope. I did not know that. And you know what? That's a great point, because I know that you can set up the room based on your space. You do that yourself. It's pretty incredible. I saw the tutorial on it, and I'm like, man, I really got to get this unit. But Hyena Dan, listen, obviously the PlayStation is, like I said earlier, they're notorious for abandoning their peripherals, and I'm happy as a fan of PlayStation VR that they're in active development of a part 2, but that it's coming to the PS5 and it's going to possibly be wireless. Would you be down with picking one of those up for the PlayStation 5 should you go down that route?
So like a few people have stated already on this panel, I'm also not a fan of VR. It's not hate or anything like that. It's just disinterest for the most part for myself, and this extends to if Xbox got into VR as well with their mixed reality stuff as well. Like, it's just not something that I'm really interested in.
Hyena, I don't want you to cut you off, but what about a VR Forza or F1 type of game? Would you be in it then? You're in the cockpit and you feel it. You can look around, like
that's a horse of another color, isn't it?
Exactly.
I mean, so like
you just got to cater to the gamer, like, you know what I mean? So
I mean, like VR. I think VR is. It seems like its best case is in like situations like that with racing games or like fighter pilots or stuff like that. Like I watch a guy on here that does a lot of sim racing content, and he does it with VR all the time. It's very exciting to watch for me, but I don't know if I feel comfortable as a person doing that.
I want to just throw one question out to you, Hyena. Now that we're talking about this, what if Flight Sim, the new one, was VR?
Oh, that would be bananas.
That'd be so dope.
Think about that for a second, guys. They're working on this secretly. They're going to put it out for regular, but then there's going to be a VR version with the Oculus, the new one.
Yeah, why wouldn't it be? They're putting their games on Steam, you know?
Yes, it is. Yep.
Really crazy.
Yep.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, as a whole, I'm just not too hyped for VR as a whole, and I do think that there is some really cool use cases for it, even especially outside of gaming in like hospitals and such. But yeah, it's definitely not for me. Even though the technology is fascinating, if they can continue to get that price point, further down, more people will just get into it. And I think that was one of the biggest offenders of VR when it first took off for Oculus, for HTC, for even the PSVR. It was just too expensive out of the gate.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I just want to shout out Coffee in the show. He says that Wipeout VR is fantastic, and I have to agree with him. I don't know if you ever played it. It is absolutely amazing. It definitely will make you throw up if you if you try to play on a full stomach. But listen, just before we move on to the next topic, does anyone have anything they'd like to add? If not,
I was going to say you touched upon it. If the new Xbox and new Scarlet devices finally allow VR, this Oculus as well would be compatible with it, because I don't think Xbox is going to make their own peripheral.
No, they would go third party for sure. Yeah, because they're definitely gun shy, so to speak, when it comes to making peripherals, and I don't blame them. After, like I said, the fiasco with Connect 2.0, it would be in their best interest not to have to manufacture a hardware, let someone else do it, and it's already, and by the time the next Xbox comes out, it's already going to be established over a year. So you're going to have a huge amount of peripherals out there who are possibly Xbox/PC owners, right? And they could immediately use it on the platform. That's actually very interesting.
I just thought about something too, like, because it is a niche thing still. It is, there's no denying it.
Yeah.
With the limited amount of people that own these things, could you imagine if they allowed Oculus to be on the Xbox, the Xbox Game Pass? I bet you these developers jumping over to get their game on Game Pass just to get the
VR section.
VR section. Yeah.
If they hire me for marketing, you're coming along, brother. Okay, how's that?
Yeah, that's a great idea. And shout out to Kofi. You guys don't know, he's on the VGP podcast, man. Shout out to him.
Yeah, so thanks for being here, Kofi. Really appreciate that. But you know what? Let's move on to a two-pronged topic that we have Gamescom 2019 showing up August 20th, and we have information that that Microsoft is going to be there in a big way. We're going to break down how big they're going to be there, but in a absolutely stunning turn of events, Sony PlayStation is back after skipping E3 2019, and we're going to get a chance to see the two heavyweights battle it out once again. And I pulled these stories from Xbox Wire and SwitchedOnGamer.com. And of course, Sony PlayStation answered critics in a big way today, and which means yesterday when I pulled the story, by revealing the company's participation within several high-profile video game events this summer, and Gamescom is definitely one of them. And while the status of Sony's summer events was in question just days ago, it has been confirmed that not only are they going to be at Gamescom, but they're going to be at the Tokyo Game Show and the China Joy, which is going to be a big event for China. And this is very exciting news. And another preemptive marketing strike, proving once again why they are the market leaders. In an article that was some serious doubt to Sony actually doing anything big in 2019 after shocking the world and skipping E3 2019, the biggest show, of course, in the States. They have confirmed to PlayStation fans that they will be attending Gamescom 2019. And one of the rumors, and I think it's almost guaranteed that this is going to happen, folks, that they're going to announce the official release date for The Last of Us 2, which has been rumored to launch on February 14th, 2020. 20. And this is actually, I would not be remotely surprised, considering that we're coming off, they'd have just come off Comic-Con, if they don't already announce it at Comic-Con in Hall H tomorrow, a Spider-Man 2 official announcement by Insomniac Games. But you know what? Not to be outdone, and what seemed like a very different strategy for the Xbox marketing team, they announced via the Xbox Wire that not only were they going to Gamescom 2019, but they would be there in a big way. And this is what they had to say. Following this year's incredible E3 and the breathtaking reaction we've had from our fans, we're excited to let you know that the Xbox will be coming to Gamescom 2019 in Cologne, Germany. We'll be bringing a great lineup of games to the event from developers around the world, with almost 200 gameplay stations in our booth, including the first public hands-on of Minecraft Dungeons, Horde mode in Gears 5, and let's see, what else did they say here? So here's what they actually had to say. Here's a quick overall. Here's a quick overview of what will be there for Microsoft. They're doing an Inside Xbox live from Cologne, Germany. That's going to be pretty interesting. The Xbox doors are open to everyone. That's a big show. There's going to be a lot of people going through there. The Xbox booth is going to possibly, from what we understand, be bigger than it was at E3, which that's saying something. And there's going to be an event, Windows Gaming, powered by Xbox Game Pass. And there's also going to be, of course, their standard fare gear shop that's going to be there in a big way. So, of course, I want to go to the panel, and this will kind of probably close out today's show. And I'll start with FC. What are you expecting from both Sony and Microsoft at obviously this event in Cologne, Germany, known as Gamescom 2019? It is usually a big event.
Yeah, so I'm not expecting too much, because Gamescom is not that far away from E3, to the point where if you're gonna show something big, really, it would be at E3 and not really at Gamescom. But I think what this Gamescom is gonna do, I think, for Microsoft, is to push, I guess, some of their games that are coming out, recent, like Gears. There's gonna be a big emphasis on Gears, I believe.
Of course, yes.
I'm not expecting any surprises. I'm hoping, but I'm not expecting anything. And for Sony, it's gonna be interesting, because if they're gonna be, this is gonna be the first conference since E3. So for them, they might show what's that game that's for Kojima? They might show more of that.
Death Stranding.
Death Stranding, maybe a sneak peek on that. So we'll see. Maybe the Elite Controller 2 might be there. I don't know. My presentations for the Gamescom is low right now because of E3, unfortunately. But I'm hoping it does well, and I want to see more Gears footage, so I'll be checking it out.
Yeah, I agree with you. Real quick, before I get to Predator H2O, Scrub Nurse with the outstanding and very generous $10 super chat. He says, "Great show, Boom and panel. Two things I can't wait to see at Gamescom.
Yep.
Gears 5, that arcade trailer looked amazing, and yes, it did, violently gory, which was great. And of course, Cyberpunk 2077 gameplay from E3. What do you guys think?" Well, here's what I'm thinking, Scrub Nurse. And of course, I'll go run real quick back to FC on this. I think due to public pressure and disappointment, I think they're going to show 5 to 7 minutes of single player campaign footage, because the world's eyes are going to be on this. FC, what do you think about that?
Now, if they do that, then that's almost perfect timing, because the game's going to be releasing soon. And I think they're starting to garner, I guess, hype back to Gears with the new trailer, and then the test releasing, I think, today, right? Releases today.
Yep.
And how massively different or the improvements in Versus is. So if they were to do that, it would finally be a feather in the marketing cap. Like, hey, there we go. We're starting to actually use our marketing, budget. So that'd be good. And again, I can't wait to see it, man. Because Gears, I was down after E3 for Gears, because I'm like, man, why are they doing this to Gears? And I'm getting like Crackdown vibes, and I'm like, oh, not again. But the new trailer release with Versus, I saw all that blood and gore, and I saw all the different stuff
that
too.
definitely
and I'm
hyped the fans.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm like, oh, okay, this is what I'm talking about. And there's a test coming out. This is the Gears that I'm talking about. And if they're gonna show the story, and it's supposed to be the biggest Gears yet, and a whole bunch of different modes, and it's gonna be on Steam too, I believe. So
yes, yep, same date.
if Gears is gonna blow up, this is the time to do it, and this is the perfect time to end pretty much the generation on a big game because Xbox needs this.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Predator, I want to go to you on this. Gamescom 2019 is Europe's E3. It's a big event for them. They have hundreds of thousands of people that attend this. It's been known as a very smelly event. I don't know how true that is. I've never been to Cologne, Germany, with that many people surrounding me. But I would imagine that it could be an issue. But more specifically, PlayStation showing up to a big event. They skipped E3, and Microsoft having some guns to show in the form of Gears. Obviously, they're going to show Horde. People are excited for that. But I think that this is a golden opportunity to obviously show off, some Gears single player gameplay that people have been asking for. What are you expecting from both companies?
From Microsoft, definitely Gears. I think it's going to be Gears heavy. They typically do an inside Xbox when they're releasing the game to kind of showcase it a little bit. Some DLC, maybe like something coming out, maybe some Ori. But everything you saw at E3, you'll see here at Gamescom. So I don't really expect any surprises. Unless Phil goes or even Matt Booty decide to go, I don't expect to see any surprises or new.
So you're not expecting any kind of a reveal of a new studio or two?
No. Not from there. I know they've. I think maybe 3 years ago they had like so much stuff to show where they basically pushed a bunch of stuff over to Gamescom, but that's not the case this year. Yeah, I think it's going to be a really tame show. They're not going to talk about the Scarlet. They're not going to talk about any new acquisitions or any brand new games coming out. I mean, they kind of did that at E3. I think Sony will have a bigger presence there than Microsoft does, just because they were not at E3. And so they'll definitely come out with their guns blazing, showing off gameplay of some games and teasers of games that that we may or may not have seen before or heard of. So I think Sony will blow the roof off, and Microsoft will just kind of sit back and just kind of play second fiddle for this one.
You can't forget about XO 2019. That's why I was kind of downplaying this. So I feel like they're going to have more stuff to show on that show than this show.
When is XO 2019?
That's actually happening soon, and I believe that's going to be in London this time.
Yeah, that's going to be dope.
That's going to be a big show for them. Real quick, before I get to you, Tempest, Seth Brog in the chat says, at BoomStick, brother, don't you think that all of these concerns about Gears 5 are much ado about nothing? I agree with you. I think that the ridiculous coverage of the no smoking shenanigans was overplayed by the social media hate groups. I think that the mainstream media showed their true colors once again. I'm not going to scream media bias. I'm going to say that was a story that I thought could have been quickly put to bed if you had a professional person covering said story, because Rod Ferguson really kind of put the kibosh on that from opening to closing when he talked about why he was, who approached him, why they decided to do it, and then had to go the next day and talk about a personal story of loss for his pops, which I thought was, of course, I appreciate him sharing, but, shame on the general public for getting on him like a rabid dog, because he as a creative designer, who's the lead dog, so to speak, at the coalition, I know there was a lot of censorship. Well, he said why he didn't want it in the game, so it wasn't censored because it wasn't in the game. And like I described in the Xbox Factor podcast from Wednesday, if you look at censorship, you could look to Devil May Cry 5, that actually had lens flare cover the character's rear end and her breasts, only on the PlayStation 4 version, not on the Xbox One, and no one complained about that censorship. But again, it's again, I'm not going to go down that dark hole about this one versus that one, but I think that could have been put to bed. And I think that Gears 5 is going to be amazing. Dealer Gaming just did a big video on his channel. Now, he doesn't need my hype, but I enjoyed it. And he talks about Gaming Boat dropping all this information about how this is the biggest Gears single-player campaign. This is the biggest Gears multiplayer campaign. This is the Gears biggest Horde campaign. So, folks, you're getting a big Gears. Take it easy. It's going to be fine. But I want to go to Tempest next on this. What are you expecting from Gamescom 2019 from both Microsoft and Sony?
Sony probably a release date, and that'll get them the Sony won Gamescom award. As far as Xbox, just more gameplay of stuff that we already know about. I know we're for sure. I think this is the event we're supposed to get Horde gameplay for Gears 5, which I am incredibly excited for. I don't know if they're going to show gameplay. I've been thinking about it. There was a recent screenshot of Kate and Dell in the desert area of Gears, and they were wearing different clothes, different armor. It's not the same stuff that you've seen them in. So that could be absolutely nothing. They could just change into that stuff. You have nothing to do with it. But now that they're making the weapon-based gunplay more recoil-driven and stuff like that, I'm thinking they're not showing it just because they want to surprise people with like RPG mechanics. Like,
yeah, that's a great point. That's a really great point. That's really good.
Your guns. I mean, that would be a huge surprise. I don't know what's better: keep your people in the dark and surprise them with that stuff, or get them hyped up for it. But I got to believe there's Rod Ferguson's extremely confident in his game. You can just see it. He oozes confidence. He knows his game's going to be amazing. So I'd almost assume that there's a reason why he doesn't want to show something. And I'm hoping it's more of a good thing than a bad thing, which I think it will be. I don't know if they're going to show campaign gameplay. If they do, I'm extremely excited, because if you follow people on Twitter, if you're on Twitter at all, just that trailer alone of the arcade mode went from people being almost pessimistic about Gears 5 to being extremely hyped.
Well, they're making a hero shooter out of Gears, and as a mode. You know what I'm saying? So that's a big deal.
Looks good though.
It does look good. Yeah. So I mean, just that little trailer alone got people hyped up, and with the changes they made from Gears 3 to 4 with Horde mode, I'm so excited to see what they did with Horde, because Horde mode is just a game mode. You sit down, especially if you're with your friends, and it is just an hour to an hour and a half of just nonstop nail-biting action. Because, newsflash is if everybody dies, you gotta restart, from the very beginning. So, depends on what mode you're on, but no. So I'm super excited for it. As far as Sony being there, I mean, they haven't been to anything recently in forever. So I'm really clueless. I highly doubt you're going to get like a new IP announcement. If anything, you're going to get that from Tokyo Game Show, and it's going to be more of a Japanese studio focused type thing from that. But you probably, I was serious when I said they'll probably win Gamescom with like a release date of The Last of Us 2, more than likely. So
they already released it.
Yeah.
Coming in February. Yeah, it's February.
Oh, so it is. Oh, well, see, I didn't even know they actually posted a release date. Okay, so they'll probably win with like a Last of Us 2 trailer of some sort. I'm guessing that's.
I think the Last of Us 2 is going to be there. I don't know if it's officially announced though. That's the thing. That the rumor has been February 14th. I don't necessarily think that came from Naughty Dog themselves, which would be slightly disappointing, because I know that this is going to be a big game for Sony and their rabid fan base. I mean, I cannot wait for the Last of Us 2. I don't know about anybody on the panel. I'm stoked.
I love that game.
Me too. I mean, it's been a couple of years since we've seen gameplay with that Ellie gameplay where she was murdering everybody, which looked amazing.
Yeah. Now, I think what they need to do, honestly, because I'm not sold, and I generally like his stuff for the most part, is they need to sell me on Death Stranding, because the actual gameplay beats I saw in the last trailer, it didn't sell me. It sold me on not getting it. So
me too. Yep.
They really need to show the gameplay, and if they don't, then at least for that title, I'm assuming the gameplay there is none.
Well, it's going to be the first Sony title, first party game that I don't buy. I've purchased every first party game this generation. As a matter of fact, I've purchased all of their collector's editions, and two things disappointed me. One, I have no idea what the hell the game's about. Even though I like Kojima, and that collector's edition is about having a baby in a jar, just not my thing. So I decided to not get either or, and I'm going to hold off to a sale. If it turns out to be good, then shame on Boom for missing the boat. And I will publicly admit that, but I'm not interested in the game whatsoever. And Hyena Den, why don't you close out this topic? And obviously, it's going to be it's going to close out this amazing show that we had. What are your expectations for Gamescom for both Xbox and Sony in 2019?
Oh, Gamescom. Gamescom is always a tough one because I know in the past Microsoft did have a much bigger presence there where they unveiled the Tomb Raider exclusivity stuff, and they did some other things alongside that. PlayStation, I don't think PlayStation has ever had that big of a presence at Gamescom over the last few years to begin with. For PlayStation specifically, I think they're going there. And China Joy as well, because they do have games that they need to continue marketing for the end of this year and early next year. You have obviously Death Stranding that's coming out in, what was it, November 20th or something like that? Yeah. They have Death Stranding to market, which they'll obviously do on YouTube and other places, but having a nice conference to go to do that as well would be nice. And if the leaked rumored release date for The Last of Us Part 2 in February is real, then that should be a game that they talk more about as well, because if that's true, that's only 5-6 months away. So that's that also with I think somebody mentioned more Japanese stuff that you'll see on the PlayStation side of things that they usually do at the Tokyo Game Show. They'll probably do as well on or at Gamescom at China Joy, and that's mostly it for what I'm expecting for PlayStation. Nothing too extreme, but stuff that's mostly expected. Xbox, it's so hard to pin down what you think Xbox is or isn't going to do, and I think because of XO19, that kind of throws a wrench into everything, because now they have to spread their content out at E3, at their Inside Xboxes, at Gamescom, and now at XO19. They have 4 different places where they have to spread that content out for their games. So you kind of have to. It's kind of a game of, well, we want to show stuff here, and we want to show the other stuff here, and so on and so forth. So it's kind of really difficult to figure out what you'd want to see from them at Gamescom. I think XO19 is going to be the bigger show out of the two, where you'll probably see more. When you think of Ninja Theory, right? They said that they have multiple, and I don't want to hang on to their words too lightly, because I've already did with Playground Games and Phil Spencer, and I'm already partially annoyed by that. You've heard Ninja Theory at E3 saying they have multiple games in the works, and in the near future, they will share more about said games. One of them is obviously Bleeding Edge. The reason why I say I don't want to hang on to those words is because Phil Spencer said the exact same thing with Playground's new studio, saying that they'd share more about it later. I don't know what their time frame of later is, because it sure as hell isn't soon. But I have no idea. If there is a conference to look forward to, it's definitely XO19 out of the two, between Gamescom and XO.
Yeah, well, it's their event. That's why it has to be big. Right. Yeah, I agree.
So maybe with Gamescom they might share. I don't know, man. I just don't know.
I mean, listen, it's going to be interesting. I know a lot of people. I know Salty in the chat. Thanks for being here, brother. Big fan of his. Obviously, check out the Saltiest podcast every Thursday evening at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. He had made mention that Rod Ferguson said that they were going to show some footage in September. And that might be true. It's possible. But you know what? Public pressure sometimes dictates what they should and shouldn't do. And considering that we're all going to be playing Gears campaign on the 4th of, I believe it's the 4th. We're playing 6 days before. Is that correct?
It's 4. It'll be the 6th.
It'll be the 6th. Okay, so it's going to be the 6th if you have the Ultimate Game Pass. You can be able to play it on the 6th. So there's not a lot of wiggle room there to drop the single-player campaign, which I think is going to be massive. And I'm going to say this right now. I have a very, very believing feeling in my gut that this is going to be a 93, 94 meta. And I'm going to stick that pole right in the ground and stand by that, because I think this is going to be the biggest Gears we've ever seen. Rod is very confident. I'm not sure who said that. and I think it's going to be a big deal. But listen, I got to say this: we're past the 2-hour mark. Everyone has been absolutely fantastic. Before we get out of here, JD Gamer, who I'm a big fan of, drops an outstanding and extremely generous $10 super chat. He says it's possible that Microsoft puts their foot on the gas and ramps up the announcements at Gamescom, Tokyo Game Show XO19 as we get closer to the event reveal of the Scarlet and then release. Yeah, you know what? There's something that's a good point you brought up, JD. There are rumors that Microsoft will be attending Tokyo Game Show, and from what we're hearing is that they're going to announce a brand new Japanese studio that they have created specifically in the Asian market to develop for the Xbox platform. That is what we're hearing. I don't know how true it is right now. Take it with a grain of salt, but it sounds right.
It wasn't there rumors that they were in talks with the creator of Lost Odyssey?
That is correct. Yes, they've had pictures of him.
Mistwalker.
Mistwalker's working on 2 games actually.
Yes. So
this is what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. But you know what? Once again, I want to thank the near 140 people that we had in the chat. You guys completely rocked. This is the friendliest and most inviting chat on YouTube. I'm very proud to say that. You guys play well. Even if you have different opinions, you still keep it clean. I do appreciate that. Of course, the generosity through the super chats is not to be. I cannot thank you guys enough for that. And of course, I have to thank my outstanding panel from top to bottom. You guys completely knocked it out of the park and made this show probably one of my favorite in a very long time. So, FC, I want to go to you first. I think that your channel is amazing. I think that your voice is amazing. And I think what you do with that voice on Salty, you know, when you team up with Salty and on your own podcast, and what you do with your, you know, how you address the community as a whole is special and is important, and you should be followed and sub to your channel. Please tell everyone where they can do that.
Yes, sir. First, I have to say thank you for those kind words, Boom, and thank you for allowing me on the show, man. And
this will not be the last time, I can assure you.
Much to your success, bro. I always promote guys that not only have something different to say, but you know, like you preach positivity. I like to be positive about my stuff. And you know, shout out to you, bro. And again, much success. But you can find me on FC Space Violent. That's my YouTube channel. I do have a podcast on Mondays called Vitamin G Gaming Podcast. That's my own podcast with a group of guys. You saw Kofi in the chat. He's the Sony guy on my podcast. It's kind of like a round table of all different preferences, and we just talk about games. It's all about the games. And I'm also on Thursdays with Salty's podcast. Thursdays with Hyena.
Yes,
and that's at 9. So anyway, check us out, man, and check me out. And I do weekly videos, and my personal videos I do is just highlighting different developers and things. I do deep dives. Basically, I'm a passionate guy who makes passion content about video games. So.
Yeah, well, listen, check out his last video that he just did. It was fantastic. I watched it myself. Of course, I'm subbed to his channel. He deserves more subs. So if you're listening and you do respect my opinion, he's definitely someone I would suggest following. His content is fantastic. Predator H2O, listen, what could we say about you, dude? You're raw, you tell it like it is, and you have a big voice, and usually get shortchanged in your gameplay on the next podcast Saturday nights. I'm going to say that again. Vote for Predator H2O. Take that, put that in the bank. Predator, tell everyone when they can follow you on Twitter, but more specifically, listen to what you have to say about gaming on the next podcast.
Next podcast is Saturdays. I think it's at 6 p.m. Central Time. So you guys can catch me there. I usually pop on everybody's podcast. If they send me an invite and I have time, I'll jump on. So
yes, you're definitely a Crossfire alumni.
Yeah. Crossfire, Xbox Nation, wherever. Predator Space H2OS on Twitter, and I'm on pretty much everything under the same name, Xbox Live and PlayStation and Steam, Switch as well, but I don't really play online on that for obvious reasons. But yeah, I'm everywhere. Just hit me up on Twitter if you want to know where I'm going to be.
No, thanks for being here once again, dude. Appreciate you reaching out because I love having you on the show. And of course, before I get to Tempest Sun, I have to thank JD Gamer with an additional outstanding and generous $5 super chat. He says, "Great show, folks. Hit that like button, people." And yes, I do appreciate that. If you do enjoy the content, all I ask is you hit the like button because it puts me in a different I don't know if it's a pedestal or a level with YouTube. I don't understand the analytics and how it works, but the more likes that you get, the better chance people are going to find the channel, and the more people that find the channel, the bigger it's going to grow. So if you can help me out, that would be greatly appreciated. But of course, a very good friend of mine who is now part of the Double Barrel Gaming family and will be starring with me on the show that I'm launching in the fall called Primetime Gaming with Mr. BoomStick and Friends. He is definitely one of the friends. Tempest son, thank you so much for being here, dude. Love that you share your family story on social media, but love what you do and how passionate you are about game. Please tell everyone where they could follow you on Twitter.
I at the Tempest Sun on Twitter, and yeah, I'm extremely looking forward to being on Primetime with Gaming. I can't wait, man. It's coming out on September 9th, and that is a big date. We will have Gears, we will have Code Vein.
Yes.
So that first show should be extra fire. Be there. We're gonna have a lot to share because it's a big time in gaming. Yeah, I had a ton of fun. Another group of guys, talented people I got to be on a show with. So you know, I'm honored to be on the show with you guys. It was a good time, and yeah, hit that like button and share this out.
I definitely appreciate you being here, and I'm glad that you're a part of the new show that will be launching. It is the first time I'm going to have a nighttime show. Of course, I wanted to, you know, hone my skills, and the people have asked for it, and I'm finally going to deliver it. And of course, I have the blessing of the Mrs. BoomStick, who, of course, you know, obviously, you don't want to take too much time away from your loved ones to do these shows. You have to balance it out, and she, of course, gave me her blessing to do the Monday night shows. I'm looking forward to that. And of course, Hyena Den, who is on the Saltiest podcast, but you also have an amazing YouTube channel and you're very vocal on Twitter. Please tell everyone where they can follow you and sub your channel.
Oh, absolutely. It was good as always being on the show with very like-minded people. FC as always, Tempest, Predator, and definitely talking more and more every time we get the chance to be on the panel together. But you know, a lot of great topics today, a lot of really funny ones. That VR one, I almost started bursting out laughing on
I mean, listen, the topics have to be interesting, not only to the panel members, but of course to the audience that's going to listen. And I'm glad that everyone enjoyed them.
Absolutely, yeah. You guys can find me on Twitter at HyenaDenXBL and Hyena Space Den on YouTube and Xbox Live. I just dropped a video regarding Forza Motorsport 8 and all of the wonderful things that Turn 10 and company are doing over at that studio. So definitely check it out.
Yeah, well, listen, again, thank you so much for being here. Everyone has just completely knocked it out of the park. All podcasting professionals.
Yep.
And of course, thanks to the chat once again and the super chat generosity. I want to wish everyone a very happy and safe weekend. I am going to say this: if you are on the East Coast, you got to make sure that you drink a lot of water. It's going to be very, very close to triple digits today, tomorrow, and Sunday. So this might be the best time to just be a gamer, stay home, turn on that AC, and just play games all weekend. And of course, this is a great weekend to play games because Gears Tech Test is going to be up there where we could play some of the online modes. I'm looking forward to that. So of course, I want to wish everyone again a happy weekend. Two things I want to close out the show with. One, treat people how you'd like to be treated in life, folks. And it also doesn't cost anything to be nice. Take that and do with whatever you want with it. But thanks again for tuning in. We'll see you next week on the latest episode of Breakfast with Boom. Take care, everyone.